Chapter 674. In the midst of the chaos, Riverward was the only one standing there, not moving at all, ignoring the surrounding soldiers. And none of the warriors dared to attack Jiang Xi. Even the most arrogant plant life deliberately avoided Jiang Xi with its wildly dancing branches and leaves. Rumble. Suddenly, the huge light sword in the sky lit up. As if it had opened its eyes, it emitted beams of misty white sword light that sprinkled down. It didn't seem to have any power, but it stirred everyone's hearts. What is this? So strange. The warriors who were still fighting felt a shock to their souls after being hit by the white sword light. It was as if a sword had pierced their hearts. This strange situation caused many of the warriors to stop fighting and prepare to deal with the white sword lights first. No one knew what dangers there were on the third level. If it was a terrifying danger, they would be courting death if they were distracted by fighting. In just a moment of chaos, 3 of the 40 warriors had fallen. Of course, these 3 were the ones who had been severely injured on the second level. They were the first to be killed. Even their treasures had been divided among the other warriors. Fortunately, the mountain sea didn't move. Lai Yu stood far away. He glanced at Jiang Xi and relaxed a lot. Then, he looked up at the huge light sword in the sky. Many of the other warriors did the same, raising their heads to watch. The huge light sword in the center of the vortex released endless white sword light. It fell like rain, covering an area of 1 billion kilometers. Every white sword light didn't hurt anyone's body. It was as if there was no harm at all. It only felt like the sword was stabbing their hearts. What danger is on the third level? It goes straight to the heart. Is it disturbing our minds? The second level only had Dao patterns at the beginning. Later, there were rock giants and rock hands. Maybe there will be some strange danger on the third level. The warriors were uneasy. Some of the warriors even flew up, not daring to approach the ground in case something suddenly appeared on the grassland. Endless white sword light poured down like rain, landing on every warrior's body. Soon, the warriors found that they were feeling more and more uncomfortable. This seems to be an attack of the primordial spirit. Is the third level testing the strength of the primordial spirit? No, the sword light didn't attack the primordial spirit. The warriors were still guessing and thinking of ways to resist. No one was willing to be eliminated at this time because elimination meant death. Moreover, as long as they survived this level and reached the 4th level, there would be many benefits. Who would be willing to give up? Riverward was also carefully sensing the white sword light that was smashing down. He had already roughly guessed what it was. It's indeed not testing the strength of the primordial spirit, it's testing the heart. Mental state. In terms of mental cultivation, this was the only domain that he didn't rely on the experience panel. Mental cultivation couldn't increase in strength. Strictly speaking, it was only a supplementary effect. For example, it could make him calmer in the face of danger and make it easier for him to think of countermeasures. Another example, a strong mental endurance. And in front of him, the white swords of light that came crashing down like raindrops were a test of his state of mind, a test of his heart's endurance. According to Big Brother Xian Tian's theory, mental cultivation is divided into 3 realms, false, great, and void. I reached the void realm long ago. If it corresponds to the cultivation realm, the void realm corresponds to the Tao Lord realm. After that, there is the Empyrean realm, the eternal realm, and even the primordial chaos realm. And my current mental cultivation should be at least a 3rd step Empyrean, or even higher. This was where Jiang Xi was most confident. Feeling the increasingly strong mental impact, Jiang Xi didn't feel any pressure. He didn't believe that this level's test could exceed the Empyrean limit. If that was the case, it wouldn't be a test at all. This little mental impact has no effect on me at all, so. Jiang Xi turned his head and looked into the distance. There stood a warrior in the form of a green-winged bird. It was Lai Yu. Let's kill him first. Whoosh! Jiang Xi's speed immediately soared and he rushed over. Lai Yu was resisting the primordial spirit. At the same time, he was paying attention to his surroundings. Although he had the 8th stage supreme treasure, the green-winged bird, which was good at escaping, he had been seriously injured on the 2nd level to resist the dangers of the miniature world. His condition had deteriorated greatly even after 2 months of recovery. His strength was still less than 1/10 of his peak. Of course, he had to be careful. Lai Yu instantly discovered a stream of light flying towards him. Mountain Sea. Lai Yu was shocked. This was what he was afraid of. Whoosh! Lai Yu flapped his wings and swung his tail. He immediately flew at high speed, trying to avoid Jiang Xi's attack. At the same time, he transmitted, Mountain Sea. We are both from the White Flame Army. Why are you chasing me? If not you, who would I kill? Jiang Xi sneered. Lai Yu felt bitter. Previously, on the 1st level of the Verdant Cloud Brothel, he suddenly attacked Jiang Xi. At that time, he said to Jiang Xi, "You are a recruit. If not you, who would I kill?" Now, the situation was reversed. Mountain Sea, as long as you don't kill me, I am willing to give you an 8th stage supreme treasure as compensation. Lai Yu transmitted anxiously. Jiang Xi only replied with a cold snort. This Lai Yu seemed to be on good terms with him previously, but suddenly attacked him in secret. This kind of sinister and vicious person was what Jiang Xi hated the most. Therefore, he had to kill him. Jiang Xi chased and Lai Yu fled. It had to be said that the 8th stage supreme treasure, the green-winged bird, was faster than the purple-striped golden wings in a straight line. 8 lives. Jiang Xi's heart moved. He directly used his body's eruption technique, and his speed increased explosively. The distance between him and Lai Yu naturally became shorter and shorter. Mountain Sea. After Lai Yu realized this, he immediately became anxious and panicked. Tell me, what will it take for you to let me go? If you die, our grudges will be settled. Jiang Xi was expressionless. Lai Yu desperately released the energy in his body, wanting to increase his speed. However, no matter how fast he was, the diameter of this area was only 1 billion kilometers. With their level of speed, such a large distance could be covered in an instant. Then, they would have to change directions, which tested their agility. In terms of agility, the green-winged bird was much weaker. It was no match for the purple-striped golden wings. Therefore, in just a moment, the distance between him and Jiang Xi was already very close. Mountain Sea, I was wrong. Please spare me, spare my life. Lai Yu begged at the last moment. He had already seen how terrifying Jiang Xi was and knew that he was no match for Mountain Sea. Die. Jiang Xi's face was cold. Whoosh! A bright sword light burst out from the long sword and pierced towards Lai Yu. Block it! Block it! Lai Yu's eyes widened as he roared. Chi! The dazzling sword light, mixed with the white sword light, pierced through his helmet and head, and then disappeared into thin air. His Tier 8 Supreme Treasure, the green-winged bird, and the remaining 4 Tier 7 Supreme Treasures scattered to the side. Not far away, the warriors who were resisting the white sword light were envious when they saw this, but none of them dared to move. Who dared to move? He killed a warrior who was about the same strength as them with one strike. With such strength, who could stop him if he went on a killing spree? However, Jiang Xi had no intention of killing. He was not a bloodthirsty person. If these warriors did not attack him, he would not kill wantonly. Next, time passed. The huge sword of light in the sky was still sending down endless white sword light, and the impact on the mind was constantly increasing. From the beginning, every warrior could easily withstand it, but now, some of the warriors were starting to struggle. This mental impact should have reached the limit of a Tao Lord's state of mind, Jiang Xi thought. He was very relaxed. Some warriors were in extreme pain. Although the warriors who could reach the third level were all elites in the army, they did not deliberately cultivate their minds and did not know how to cultivate. It could only be said that as their strength increased, as their knowledge and experience increased, some Tao Lord warriors might have a breakthrough in their mental state and break through to the heavenly venerable realm. However, there were still a few who had a weaker mental state and remained in the Tao Lord realm. Kill. Kill. Some warriors were still fighting while enduring the mental impact. This was especially true for the warriors whose mental fortitude had reached its limit. They were doing their best to kill and eliminate the other warriors. Kill one opponent, kill one opponent. As long as there are 15 left, it will be over. Kill. The sky was dark and the earth was in chaos. More than 30 warriors turned into streams of light and flew at high speed, occasionally crossing each other. In such a desperate battle, they still had to resist the mental impact of the white sword light. If they were not careful, they might be distracted and be hit by other warriors. Some of the weaker warriors began to fall, and the number of warriors began to decrease. Soon, the impact of the white sword light from the sky gradually became stronger and stronger, and the warriors began to feel fear. Previously, they were fighting each other, and the mental impact of the white sword light was only a small threat. But now, the mental impact had exceeded the limits of some warriors. Not good. No. At this moment, the mental impact of the white sword light finally surpassed the limit of Tao Lord and reached the heavenly venerable realm. The 9 warriors who were flying at high speed trembled. Their eyes went from being awake to being in a daze, and their minds collapsed. Their mental state cultivation was still at the Tao Lord level, so they naturally could not withstand the mental impact of a heavenly venerable. At this moment, boom boom boom, the huge sword of light in the sky shot out 9 dazzling golden sword lights, instantly hitting the 9 unconscious warriors. Before the 9 figures fell to the ground, they turned into ashes, leaving only some supreme treasures scattered in the air. Jiang Xi's eyes flickered. Swoosh! He rushed directly to the 2 nearest piles of treasures. Immediately, some of the warriors in the distance who were preparing to go over restrained the greed in their hearts and stopped, not daring to compete with Riverward. Jiang Xi smiled and glanced at them, then turned into a stream of light and collected all the supreme treasures of the 2 fallen warriors. There are quite a lot of treasures. It seems that the 3rd level of the Verdant Cloud Brothel is a good opportunity to collect treasures. Jiang Xi was very satisfied with this unexpected harvest. Almost all the warriors who could make it to the 3rd level had at least 1/8 tier supreme treasure. After all, they had all survived the 1st and 2nd levels. Without some capital, they would not have survived until now. After the mental impact of the white sword light reached the heavenly venerable level, the number of warriors began to decrease rapidly. 27, 26, 25. 21, the warriors fell one after another. Some were killed by the huge sword of light, while others were killed directly by the other warriors. Scram! The voice was like thunder. Jiang Xi flapped his wings and rushed directly to the treasures left behind by a warrior who was killed by the sword of light. It's that warrior, Mountain Sea. It's Mountain Sea. Retreat. When the 3 warriors who were charging towards the treasures saw that it was Riverward, they hurriedly changed directions and fled far away. If they were closer to the treasures, they might have a chance to get them. However, they were far away from the treasures. Even if they could get them first, they would probably be caught by Mountain Sea. Then, it would be a nightmare. Now, among the warriors who were still alive, the 2 who had obtained the most treasures were Jiang Xi and the plant life. Strictly speaking, the plant life had obtained the most. This was because the entire vortex area was only 1 billion kilometers in diameter, and the plant life was already hundreds of millions of kilometers tall. When those branches and leaves spread out, the area they controlled was even larger. With this advantage, it was naturally easier for it to obtain treasures. No. I won't accept this. Die, die. All of you, die. The plant life suddenly let out a shrill roar. It was indeed powerful, and its body was extremely large. Even Jiang Xi could not kill it with one strike. However, the white sword light falling from the sky caused a psychological impact, making it more and more difficult for it. Its large body was its natural advantage. Since it had cultivated until now, it had basically been smooth sailing and rarely experienced hardships. Therefore, in terms of mental state cultivation, it was much weaker. Although its mental state was already at the level of a heavenly venerable, it could only be ranked in the middle among this group of elite warriors. No! No! The plant life felt that it could not hold on any longer. Its heart was trembling, and it was about to collapse. It's going to die. It's dying. When the other warriors in the distance saw this scene, their eyes were filled with greed. Because everyone knew that this plant life had collected the most treasures. Jiang Xi was also watching with a calm expression. No, die, all of you, die. The plant life roared, and its branches and leaves danced wantonly. Golden light burst out from each branch and swept around, wanting to kill more warriors. However, at this time, all the warriors were far away from it, not giving it a chance. No! With a shrill cry, those wildly dancing branches and leaves suddenly fell from the sky. Obviously, its mind had collapsed and it had lost consciousness. Now's the time. Jiang Xi's eyes lit up. He immediately turned into a stream of light and rushed directly toward the plant life. Chapter 675. On the third floor of the verdant cloud brothel, a group of warriors was shrouded by the light screen from the vortex in the sky and restricted to an area with a diameter of 1 billion kilometers. They were fighting each other and trying their best to resist the spiritual impact. As the white sword light's impact on the spiritual impact continued to increase, the huge plant life form lost its consciousness in mid-air, its spiritual impact collapsing. Whoosh! The huge light sword in the sky released a cold purple sword light that landed on the plant life form and instantly turned it into nothingness, leaving behind a large pile of treasures. Whoosh! Whoosh! The warriors rushed out at the same time, all of them eager to get their hands on those treasures. Everyone knew that the plant life form controlled a large area with its huge size and collected a large number of treasures. It's mine! A four-horned beast warrior flapped his wings and flew over at lightning speed. Among the many warriors who were rushing over, he was the closest and also the fastest. Whoosh! He flew close to the grassland and instantly collected the treasures that piled up into a mountain. You're courting death. A cold shout was heard. The four-horned beast warrior looked into the distance and sneered. The mountain sea of the White Flame Army? In terms of strength, I'm not as strong as you, but in terms of flying speed, I'm not afraid of you. Humans died for wealth and birds died for food. In front of so many treasures, even ordinary warriors would go crazy and lose their minds, let alone these elite warriors who were not weak to begin with. Boom! A figure whizzed over. You're the fastest. Jiang Xi sneered. With a thought, he directly used part of the 8-life secret art. His strength increased tenfold, and his speed also increased abruptly. His entire person seemed to teleport as he flew, crossing a large distance in an instant. What? The four-horned beast warrior was shocked. Jiang Xi only sneered. From the beginning to the end, even when dealing with the stone giant on the second floor, he had not unleashed his full combat strength. A beast warrior with only the combat strength of a first-step heavenly venerable, even if he was a little faster, dared to be presumptuous in front of him? Everyone says you're strong, but I don't believe you. You and I are both Tao lords. How much stronger can you be? Seeing that he could not shake off Jiang Xi in terms of speed, the beast warrior roared and pounced, wanting to take the initiative to attack. Get down. Jiang Xi waved his sword, releasing a dazzling sword light. It was as if he wanted to destroy everything, but at the same time, it also seemed to have infinite vitality. The third move of the Mountain Sea Sword's Heavenly Tao Scroll, Annihilation and Rebirth. Voila! The speed of the dazzling sword light was strangely fast. Even though the four-horned beast warrior had already tried its best to cast a defensive spell, it was still directly struck by the sword. Its body fell down uncontrollably. At the same time, the horrifying power of the sword light erupted. The aura of this ferocious beast warrior was reduced by half. How could this be? The four-horned beast was shocked and at a loss. He had an 8th-tier defensive treasure on him, and yet he couldn't defend against it. Die! Jiang Xi ignored his shock as he waved his sword continuously. Streaks of resplendent sword light whistled out. If he was still on the second floor, it might be a little difficult for him to kill this ferocious beast warrior without unleashing his full combat strength. But now, he had already collected a large number of supreme treasures, and among them was an 8th-rank supreme treasure longsword. Using this long sword, he could easily break through the defense of the dire beast warrior. Rumble. Endless dazzling sword light blanketed the area. The four-horned beast warrior, whose strength had already been reduced by half, was directly submerged. Almost instantly, it was annihilated. The large number of supreme treasures that he had collected just now also appeared in midair. It took 2 strikes from me to die. Its strength isn't weak, Jiang Xi thought to himself. At the same time, he waved his hand and collected the supreme treasures. With so many supreme treasures, Jiang Xi estimated that it would definitely be enough to upgrade the killing shadow sword to the 10th level. At this moment, the other warriors in the distance were all frightened. They stopped their charging movements and didn't dare to fight for it. The four-horned beast warrior's strength was definitely one of the top warriors who had reached the 3rd floor. In the end, it was killed in 2 strikes. Fear. Lingering fear. All kinds of emotions emerged in the hearts of those warriors. This was the first time Jiang Xi had erupted with such tyrannical strength on the 3rd floor. When he killed Lai Yu just now, he only displayed his speed. Moreover, Lai Yu's strength was already less than 10%. Jiang Xi's true strength hadn't really erupted. This time, when he displayed it, it immediately made the other warriors understand how wise it was to be cautious and avoid him previously. Don't provoke him. This was the common thought of all the warriors. Because from the beginning until now, Jiang Xi hadn't wantonly killed. This made them realize that Jiang Xi wasn't a bloodthirsty warrior. Buzz! The huge light sword in the sky released endless white sword light. The strength of the spiritual impact was getting stronger and stronger. Only 15 can survive. Continue to kill. I will definitely survive. The warriors' attention quickly shifted to resisting the white sword light. They tried their best to resist the spiritual impact. At the same time, they tried their best to kill the other warriors. The number of warriors was constantly decreasing. 20. 18. 16, until the last 15. When there were only 15 warriors left in the area covered by the vortex, the spiritual impact of the white sword light had already reached the level of a 3rd-step heavenly venerable. It was close to the limit of a heavenly venerable. Other than Jiang Xi, the other 14 warriors were on the verge of collapse. They could die at any time. It looks like my state of mind cultivation has already reached the eternal realm. Jiang Xi was still very relaxed. He didn't feel any pressure at all. That's right. I was in seclusion in the 8 Clouds Pavilion for 1 billion years. I memorized the vast number of legacy stones in the periphery. That is also a kind of life experience. Naturally, my state of mind wouldn't be weak. One had to know that the hundreds of millions of legacy stones in the 8 Clouds Pavilion's legacy covered more than 90% of the primordial realm civilization's foundational legacies. As the saying went, having seen and experienced so much, it would be strange if his state of mind was weak after memorizing so much information. Whoosh! 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 The vortex and the huge light sword in the sky disappeared. At the same time, 15 light pillars descended and enveloped Jiang Xi and the others. The last 15 warriors who survived disappeared from the third level, Valley of the Divine King, in the Grey Palace beside the Verdant Cloud Brothel. The 4 commanders were seated on the 4 thrones in the hall. Their eyes were fixed on the floating light screen, watching the scene of the warriors breaking through the levels. Ha! He passed the 3rd level's test so easily. The way I see it, this mountain sea is so relaxed. His mental state should have reached the eternal autarch level. For a Tao Lord warrior to have such a high mental state is not bad at all, the Black Mist commander praised. And until now, he hasn't used his full strength. I think he's already an invincible celestial venerable. The silver-armored woman smiled. This warrior's swordsmanship, state of mind, combat intelligence, he's at the top of the Tao Lord warriors in every field. He's the strongest Tao Lord warrior I've seen since I became a commander. The blood-armored commander, who had reached the Chaos Origin Divine General level, stared at the light screen with a serious expression. I just don't know if he can reach the top of the Verdant Cloud Brothel. If he can, then we won't let down His Majesty's expectations. The other 3 commanders fell silent. His Majesty's expectations? Over the course of countless years, they had seen countless peerlessly talented Tao Lord warriors. There had been Tao Lord warriors who were comparable to third-step celestial venerables, but none of them had succeeded. They all stared at the light screen, which was currently showing the 4th level of the Verdant Cloud Brothel. The reward is on the 4th level. I wonder what he'll choose. The 4th level of the Verdant Cloud Brothel. The 15 surviving warriors were all filled with anticipation. According to the information the Verdant Cloud Brothel had given them, only the first 3 levels were dangerous. From the 4th level onwards, there was no need to worry about death. Moreover, there would be rewards. Of course, they also knew that if they wanted to obtain the rewards, it would depend on their ability. There would definitely be a test. Otherwise, the Verdant Cloud Brothel wouldn't have 9 levels. The rewards from the Verdant Cloud Brothel must be better than those from the Quartermaster Hall, right? What are the rewards? The warriors thought to themselves. As the teleportation power disappeared, they were all sent to the 4th level. They immediately looked around and observed their surroundings. Jiang Xi's eyes flashed. He was also observing there were 4 passageways around them. On the walls of each passageway, there were trees, corpses, stones, and so on. They all glowed with different colors. It was as if countless lives and objects were sealed on the walls of the passageways. Passageways? Is this level a maze? Jiang Xi thought to himself. There were passageways around him. The 15 warriors, including Jiang Xi, didn't act rashly. They were waiting for the Verdant Cloud Brothel's guidance. At this moment, rays of light appeared around them, enveloping every warrior. Surviving warriors, you are lucky because you have reached the 4th level of the Verdant Cloud Brothel. From this level onwards, you don't have to worry about death. All warriors are forbidden from killing each other. If you violate this rule, you will be executed. Just the beginning of the sentence made the other warriors heave a sigh of relief. They all looked at Jiang Xi in unison. They were no longer as cautious as before. The voice continued, there are many rewards on the 4th level of the Verdant Cloud Brothel. There are 4 passageways around you, representing 4 different types of rewards. How many rewards you can obtain depends on your own abilities. If you are lucky, you might be able to obtain great benefits. The passageway glowing with golden light is the crafting passageway. It contains the legacy of crafting supreme treasures. The passageway glowing with black light is the body passageway. It contains the legacy of cultivating one's body. The passageway glowing with white light is the primordial spirit passageway. It contains the legacy of cultivating one's primordial spirit. The passageway glowing with purple light is the Tao Technique passageway. It contains the legacy of cultivating Tao techniques. Of the 4 passageways, besides crafting, the other 3 passageways' legacies will guide you on how to cultivate to become a heavenly venerable. But you can only choose one of them. Your rewards in the passageway will determine whether you can enter the 5th level of the verdant cloud brothel. Choose, lucky warriors. The old voice disappeared. Jiang Xi and the others looked around the 4 passageways and thought carefully about the information they had heard. Crafting. We warriors live by fighting. Although crafting is respected, it's not the best choice. I was born with a strong body. I should take the physical route. A ferocious beast warrior entered the passageway glowing with black light. I cultivate Tao techniques and I'm good at cultivating my body. But I've been stuck at the level of Tao Lord for too long. It's too unlikely for me to break through to become a heavenly venerable with these 2 routes. Maybe I can try the primordial spirit route. A short and strong tribal warrior entered the passageway glowing with white light. The mainstream in the dream origin realm is cultivating Tao techniques. But it also shows that Tao techniques are ordinary. I choose. A tribal warrior entered the passageway glowing with black light. The warriors quickly made their choices. But none of them chose the treasure crafting passageway or the Tao technique passageway. Except for Jiang Xi, 8 of the 14 warriors chose the physical route and 6 chose the primordial spirit route. If they had to choose, they would naturally choose the best one. Although the dream origin realm forbade the spread of legacies outside the army, these elite warriors had long known that there were 3 cultivation routes. Body, primordial spirit, and Tao techniques. Among them, the body and primordial spirit routes were the strongest. Tao technique passageway. I'd like to see what special guidance the godly king of the dream origin realm has in terms of Tao techniques. Jiang Xi chose the Tao technique passageway without hesitation. Treasure crafting. He would definitely not choose it. Just like what a warrior said, he lived by fighting. Why would he choose to craft treasures? Body? Primordial spirit? Jiang Xi also gave up on these 2 routes. Because the godly king level 8 cloud's legacy included these 2 routes. He had no lack of them. In his opinion, the Tao technique passageway in front of him was the most valuable one. Before coming to the godly king valley, he had overlooked the godly king continent from the sky. He also learned from Shou Jin that the godly king continent was the dojo of the dream origin realm's godly king. With a dojo, it meant that the godly king's cultivation had reached the peak of the primordial chaos realm. Even in the primordial realm and astral realm of the upper realm, there were only a few godly king dojos. One could imagine how precious they were. A godly king level Tao technique passageway. In the future, when I cultivate to the eternal limit, I will need to create my own Tao technique. Although the heritage in this passageway is only at the heavenly venerable level, it might be of some help to me. Jiang Xi walked into the purple light passageway. The 4 commanders of the godly king valley looked at the screen and saw that all 15 warriors had made their choices. They also saw riverward enter the Tao art passageway that suffused purple light. They revealed smiles on their faces. Good choice. You have good taste. The most precious thing on the 4th level of Azure Cloud Brothel is this Tao technique passageway. It is where His Majesty the Godly King put his heart and soul into. Good choice. Good luck. The 4 commanders sighed. Ordinary military experts might not know, but they were Godly King Valley commanders. They had guarded Azure Cloud Brothel for countless years, so they naturally knew. In fact, the peerless figures that His Majesty the Godly King was waiting for were Tao technique cultivators. Although Tao technique cultivators were common, it was much more difficult to reach the limit than cultivating one's body and essence soul. It also represented limitless possibilities. Therefore, when His Majesty the Godly King built Azure Cloud Brothel, only the Tao technique passageway on the 4th level was built by His Majesty the Godly King with his heart and soul. It was meant to guide future cultivators. Chapter 676. Jiang Xi walked in the passageway. On the walls of this passageway that represented the path of the Tao technique, a large number of stones were piled up. It was as if there were no rules to speak of, and it was messy and disorderly. Where is the inheritance guidance of the Tao technique path? Jiang Xi searched carefully. Suddenly, his eyes flashed, and he stared intently at a wall. He was shocked to discover that those large and small stones seemed to be messy and without any rules. But once the billions of stones were combined, it was actually an incomparably complicated and mysterious pattern. Moreover, some of those stones were protruding and some were sunken, making this pattern even more three-dimensional. This is a three-dimensional secret technique pattern. Jiang Xi was surprised. To be precise, what the pattern displayed was a fire attribute Tao technique rank 1 secret technique. It's actually only a rank 1 secret technique? This made him very curious. Wasn't it too low? What about the other side? He turned to look at the opposite wall and combined the billions of stones. Sure enough, it was another three-dimensional secret technique pattern. However, this time, it was a metal attribute rank 2 secret technique. With Jiang Xi's strength, he could remember these secret techniques at a glance. He advanced all the way, and then saw the 5 elements Tao technique rank 3 secret techniques, rank 4 secret techniques, all the way until the 5 elements heavenly Tao level rank 6 secret techniques. Moreover, there was more than one secret technique at each level. All the secret technique patterns added up, the number reached hundreds of thousands, close to 1,000,000. Finally, Jiang Xi encountered a stone door at the end of the passageway. The stones on the door formed an incomplete secret technique pattern. An incomplete rank 7 secret technique? Rank 7 secret techniques were created by Empyrean powerhouses according to the source level Tao technique. At this time, Jiang Xi completely understood. Those secret technique patterns in the passageway were rewards and also tests. If he wanted to obtain more rewards, he had to complete this secret technique pattern. Then, he would be able to open the door and enter the next stage. Suddenly, Jiang Xi thought of something and was immediately overjoyed. The essence of a secret technique is a Tao technique, and these secret techniques are so detailed, from low to high, just like an analysis. Through a large number of secret techniques, the 5 elements Tao technique is analyzed clearly. This is a great opportunity for me. When a Tao reached the level of the heavenly Tao, it was like hundreds of rivers converging. In the end, only the 5 elements, time, space, life, destruction, reincarnation, blade Tao, and sword Tao were left. A total of 8 Tao techniques. Among the 8 Tao arts, I've only comprehended 3 of them, the Tao of the sword, the 5 elements, and the Tao of life. Here, I can use the experience points panel to deduce these secret techniques. I can quickly comprehend the 4th Tao art, the 5th Tao art, or even more. It was like copying answers in an exam. The various secret techniques on the walls of the Tao technique passageway had been completely analyzed and laid out in front of Jiang Xi. As long as he used the interface to deduce the Tao art one by one, he would be able to make it his own. Moreover, since there's this door as a test, it means that as long as one deduces the Taoist techniques on the walls of the passageway to the origin level, one will be able to enter the next stage. It's very likely that the next stage will be one of the other 8 Taoist arts. Jiang Xi's eyes shone brightly. Perhaps he could comprehend even more Taoist arts here, or even comprehend all 8 Taoist arts. He looked at the experience points panel. Tao arts, sword Tao origin, 10,000 yuan, 10,000 yuan, 5 elements origin, 10,000 yuan, 10,000 yuan, life origin, 10,000 yuan, 10,000 yuan, experience points, 1,751 trillion eternal experience points, 29,218 yuan. The only problem is that there might not be enough experience points later on. However, the longest time for an elite mission is an era, which is 36 million years. There should be plenty of time. My clone can find a way to harvest experience points in the Chaos Sea. After having a plan, Jiang Xi immediately took action. He had already reached the origin level of the 5 elements Tao arts, so the test of the secret technique pattern on the stone door was not difficult for him. He waved his hand, and the immortal energy in his body poured into the secret technique pattern. The incomplete parts were quickly completed, forming a complete set of 7th-stage 5 elements Tao arts. In fact, according to Jiang Xi's current cultivation level, as long as he was willing, he could also create a 7th-stage Tao art at the origin level. He had not created one yet because he had only reached the origin level not long ago. It had only been 3,000 to 4,000 years. Rumble. At this time, as the secret technique pattern was completed, the stone door at the end of the passage instantly emitted a light that enveloped Jiang Xi. Whoosh! Jiang Xi disappeared in front of the door. He's gone in. It's only been a while, and he's already entered the next stage. His 5 elements Tao arts must have reached the origin level long ago, and it has already been perfected. I just don't know if his sword Tao and life Tao arts have reached the origin level. The blood-armored commander said in a low voice. I wonder how much he will gain in the Tao arts passage. The 4 commanders began to speculate. They knew very well what was in the Tao arts passage. There were a total of 8 stages in the passage, and they represented the inheritances of the 8 Tao arts below the origin level. The more Tao arts cultivators cultivated, the more difficult it would be for them to cultivate in the future. However, they would also become more powerful. If one could comprehend all 8 Tao arts, that would be the true limit of the Tao arts path. What made the 4 commanders even more expectant was that this warrior, Shanhai, had already embarked on the path of fusing Tao arts. Under normal circumstances, one could only create a 6th-stage Tao art at most with 1 heavenly Tao as the foundation. However, the sword Tao secret technique that Shanhai had created by fusing 3 heavenly Taos was a 7th-stage Tao art. If he could fuse all 8 Tao arts, what level would he reach? They could not predict because no powerful being had ever been able to do so. Not even the mighty divine king could do so. It's a pity that we won't be able to see what happens after the first stage of the Tao arts passage. The Black Mist commander sighed softly. The other 3 commanders also fell silent, and they were a little anxious. They hoped that Shanhai would be able to go further and comprehend more Tao art inheritances. The space trembled. Under the effect of the teleportation power, Jiang Xi arrived at the 2nd stage of the Tao arts passage. The 2 walls were still covered with gravel of all sizes, forming a Tao art pattern. However, Jiang Xi's gaze did not fall on the wall immediately. Instead, he stared at a small mountain of crystals in front of him. Jiang Xi was all too familiar with those crystals. Eternal fragments. This was a small mountain of eternal fragments. So many rewards. Jiang Xi was shocked. He quickly identified the number of eternal fragments. A total of 10,000 pieces. If exchanged in the military supply hall, that would be 1 million military points. Could it be that the Tao arts passage is more important? Is that why the rewards are so generous? This thought flashed through Jiang Xi's mind. However, he did not think too much about it. With a wave of his hand, the 10,000 eternal fragments disappeared and were stored in the treasure space of Heavenly Tower. At this moment, in the space of Heavenly Tower, Jiang Xi quickly condensed an avatar and began to use the interface to convert eternal fragments. 1 eternal experience points equals 1 eternal fragment. This process could be converted to each other. In other words, the Verdant Cloud Brothel directly rewarded him with 10,000 eternal experience points this time. In this way, there is no shortage of experience points. In fact, there will be more and more in the future. Then, Jiang Xi began to observe and comprehend the Tao art pattern on the wall. After taking a closer look, he discovered that the 2nd stage of the Tao arts passage was Space Tao arts. This was a new Tao art that he had never comprehended before. If it was in the past, Jiang Xi could not guarantee that he could comprehend the 4th or even the 5th Tao art. But now, he was full of confidence. On the wall, there were hundreds of thousands of space Dao arts of various levels, explaining the inheritance of space Dao arts below the origin level. With the experience points interface, as long as he followed the deduction, he could comprehend space Dao arts. Next, Jiang Xi used the interface to deduce as he moved forward. In just an hour, he comprehended space Dao arts at the true meaning level. Then, in just one day, he advanced to the domain level of space Dao arts. In 1 month, he advanced to the path of heaven and earth level of space Dao arts. In half a year, he advanced to the great Dao level of space Dao arts. In 10 years, he advanced to the heavenly Dao level of space Dao arts. During this process of improvement, he had been using experience points to quickly reach the perfection realm of each Dao art level, saving a lot of time. For example, the great Dao level of space Dao arts. If he did not have the interface, he could only rely on a little comprehension to slowly improve. He might not even be able to cultivate the great Dao of space to perfection in 10,000 or 100,000 years. However, Jiang Xi only used 10 years to raise his space Dao arts to the perfection realm of the heavenly Dao level. When he was weak, he still needed to refine spiritual fruits to replenish the energy consumption of his rapid improvement. Now, with his strength, he could instantly absorb and refine a large amount of heaven and earth spiritual energy. Naturally, he did not have to worry about this consumption. Finally, Jiang Xi walked to the second stone door. On the door, there was also an incomplete secret art pattern. This segment was more time-consuming. Because this pattern was a rank 7 secret art at the origin level, he had yet to comprehend the origin of space. However, Jiang Xi was not too worried. Although this secret technique pattern was incomplete, it was still valuable as a reference for him. He could use the interface to deduce to complete this pattern. As the saying went, everything could be deduced. This was the power of the interface's deduction function. Soon, Jiang Xi used another year to deduce the incomplete part. When the secret art pattern on the stone door was completed, the stone door emitted a light that enveloped Jiang Xi and teleported him to the third stage of the Dao art passage. 20,000 Eternal Fragments. Although he was mentally prepared, Jiang Xi was still pleasantly surprised when he saw the pile of crystal stones on the passage that was much larger. He did not hesitate and directly put them away. Then, he began to observe and comprehend the massive number of secret arts on the wall, Time Dao art. Jiang Xi's eyes flashed. This was the most mysterious of the 8 Dao arts. If one could cultivate it to the eternal realm, they could reverse time and space. However, according to the introduction of the 8 Clouds legacy, there were very few eternal sovereigns who cultivated the Time Dao art. It could be said to be 1 in 10,000. There might not even be one eternal sovereign among 10,000 eternal sovereigns. It seems that this divine king can use a large number of secret arts of time to explain the Time Dao art in such detail. He should be able to reverse time and space easily, Jiang Xi thought to himself. Next, he comprehended and deduced. Time passed, and in the blink of an eye, 100 years. Jiang Xi walked to the end of the third stage of the Dao art passage and saw the third stone door. This time, he used 10 years to complete the third incomplete secret art pattern with the help of the interface's deduction. It was a level 7 secret art of time. At the same time, outside the verdant cloud building. Whoosh! A warrior was teleported out. In the gray palace next to the verdant cloud building, the 4 commanders stood in front of the railing and looked down at the warrior who was teleported out. This is the 14th warrior to be eliminated. Their harvest on the 4th level has reached their respective limits. They can't get more and have all been eliminated, the Black Mist commander said. That Shanhai hasn't stopped yet. With his talent, he can definitely obtain more inheritance. The Blood Armor commander, who was at the Origin Divine General level, sighed. The 4 commanders looked at the verdant cloud building. Unfortunately, they couldn't see the situation beyond the Dao art passage. However, They knew very well that since Shanhai was still advancing at this time, it meant that he had a chance to enter the 5th level of the Verdant Cloud building and continue to advance. The longest time for an elite mission is an era. On the 4th level of the Verdant Cloud building, he can only stay for 10 million years at most. I wonder how much he can gain in 10 million years. Just like how the 4 commanders didn't know that Jiang Xi was about to quickly pass the 4th stage, Jiang Xi didn't know that he only had 10 million years. Of course, knowing wouldn't affect anything. He was already doing his best to deduce and comprehend. He was going all out. In the 4th stage of the Tao Art Passage, the rewards for the 3rd stage were placed on the passage. There were a total of 30,000 eternal fragments. On the wall was a massive number of secret arts that explained the life Tao art. Jiang Xi had already reached the level of perfected origin for this Tao art. Naturally, he passed it without any difficulty. Next, the 5th stage was the destruction Tao art. It was another brand new Tao art. Jiang Xi used 3,800 years to complete the deduction of the destruction Tao art's heavenly Tao level. Although the more Tao arts one cultivated at the same time, if one wanted to cultivate to a higher realm and comprehend new Tao arts, the difficulty would increase exponentially. However, the Tao art passage's explanation of each Tao art was too detailed. Jiang Xi had the experience panel, so it was difficult for him to not comprehend it quickly. Then, the 6th stage was the reincarnation Tao art. In the end, Jiang Xi used 20,000 years to reach the 6th stone door. Not to mention Jiang Xi's progress. On the other side, during these 20,000 years. Outside the White Flame Army camp, the group of Juntian Holy Land powerhouses who had been waiting for Jiang Xi's return were about to go crazy. Didn't they say that each mission only lasted for 10,000 years at most? Why hadn't Jiang Xi returned after more than 20,000 years? At first, they all guessed that Jiang Xi had failed the mission and died outside. However, when they reported the news back to the Holy Land, they received news that Jiang Xi's clone was fine. Moreover, the Tao lords of the human race who were wandering in the Chaos Sea didn't show any sadness. This meant that Jiang Xi's original body in the Dream Origin realm might still be alive. Therefore, Juntian Supreme ordered them to continue watching. Even if Jiang Xi's original body died, they had to wait until the news of his death reached the White Flame Army. Compared to the Juntian Holy Land, the human race in the 4th universe was indeed peaceful. In the entire 4th universe, more than 70% of the territory had been occupied by the human race. The new generation of powerhouses continued to rise, and Mountain Sea Tao Lord Jiang Xi became the object of admiration and reverence of these new generation of powerhouses. However, in these tens of thousands of years, Jiang Xi seemed to have disappeared. No one knew where he went. Only a few of the upper echelons of the human race knew that Jiang Xi's original body was obtaining a great opportunity in the Dream Origin realm, so no one disturbed Jiang Xi. Even if it was Riverward's clone, no one disturbed him. In the blink of an eye, 300,000 years had passed. Chapter 677. Time passed quickly and 300,000 years passed in the blink of an eye. On the 4th floor of the Verdant Cloud building, the 7th stage of the Tao Technique passageway. In front of the 7th stone door, Jiang Xi stood there motionless, staring at the mystic technique pattern on the stone door. He had maintained this posture for 10,000 years. Suddenly, Jiang Xi smiled, and his originally frowning brows loosened, full of relief. An epiphany, suddenly enlightened, this feeling was incomparably wonderful. Although Saber Tao and Sword Tao are both Tao of killing and seem to have many similarities, when you really break them down, their essence is poles apart. Jiang Xi smiled, raised his hand, and poured immortal power into the incomplete mystic technique pattern. The rank 7 Saber Tao mystic technique in front of him was instantly completed. Buzz! The stone door released light, teleporting him to the 8th stage of the Tao Technique passageway. When the power of teleportation disappeared, Jiang Xi did not need to look at the large number of mystic techniques on the wall to know what this stage was. And for him, it was not difficult at all. Because the 8th stage was Sword Dao. According to the order, the 8 stages of the Dao technique passageway were 5 elements Dao, space Dao, time Dao, life Dao, destruction Dao, return Dao, saber Dao, sword Dao. Originally, he had already comprehended the 5 elements Dao, life Dao, and sword Dao. Now, along the way, he had finally comprehended the other 5 of the 8 Dao techniques, and all of them had reached the level of perfected heaven Dao. Eternal fragments. Jiang Xi looked at the pile of crystal stones in the passageway, his face calm and collected, long used to it. He put away a total of 70,000 eternal fragments and quickly converted them into eternal experience points. Then, he walked to the stone door of the 8th stage with familiarity. The countless gravel on it formed an incomplete mystic technique pattern. This was a rank 7 sword Dao mystic technique. Jiang Xi did not hesitate and quickly completed the incomplete part. This time, the stone door did not emit a teleportation light, but the entire door directly turned into an illusion and disappeared. A huge circular stone platform appeared in front of him, and from afar, one could see that there was a small mountain of eternal fragments on the stone platform. Obviously, those eternal fragments were the rewards of the 8th stage of the Dao technique passageway. As there was no danger of life and death, Jiang Xi directly stepped on the stone platform. Suddenly, Jiang Xi became vigilant. All he could hear was an ethereal voice ringing out around him. At first, it was very faint, but gradually, the sound became louder. Furthermore, specks of blue starlight appeared on the circular stone platform. More and more of them appeared, as if they were endless. Finally, the blue starlight began to condense into a blurry figure. It was very illusory, as if it would disappear at any moment. The blurry figure's back was facing Jiang Xi, so he couldn't see his face clearly. To be able to come here means that you already have the qualifications to cultivate to the primordial chaos realm. The voice of the blurry figure was also very vague. It was impossible to tell whether it was a man or a woman. Remember, cultivating 8 Daos at the same time isn't the limit. Fusing them together is the true limit. Once you reach the center of the circular platform, you'll be able to enter the 5th floor of the Verdant Cloud Pavilion. I hope that you'll be able to reach the top. The blurry figure turned his face slightly and glanced at Jiang Xi. Then, he sighed softly and disappeared. Jiang Xi's gaze froze. He couldn't see the figure clearly. However, when the blurry figure stood in front of him, even though his back was facing him, he felt a sense of intimacy in his heart. It was incomparably close. This is just an illusory consciousness. It can actually affect my state of mind. Jiang Xi looked solemn. His state of mind cultivation was already at the level of an eternal supreme. However, this blurry figure's illusory consciousness could affect his state of mind greatly. Absolutely, much stronger than the 8 Cloud Divine Generals. The previous 8 Cloud Divine Generals had already fallen. Back then, only an illusory consciousness was left behind in the 8 Cloud Ruins. After the successor was chosen, it dissipated on its own accord. Although the illusory consciousness of a primordial chaos expert was not a complete life form, it still contained all the memories of the main body. Memory itself was a kind of power. Understanding all the memories meant understanding all the Dao techniques of the main body. Naturally, it was extraordinary. Jiang Xi estimated that the illusory consciousness just now should have been left behind by His Majesty the Divine King of the Dream Origin World. Just the illusory consciousness alone can affect my state of mind. If His Majesty the Divine King came in person, I'm afraid I'll be annihilated with just a look. Jiang Xi was shocked then. He looked around the circular stone platform again. After discovering that there was nothing else, Jiang Xi waved his hand and put away the pile of eternal fragments. Then, he quickly converted them into eternal experience points. The reward for the 8th stage of the Dao technique passageway was 80,000 eternal fragments. In addition to the previous 7 stages, there were a total of 360,000 eternal fragments. In other words, in addition to comprehending the remaining 5 Tao techniques on the 4th level, he also gained 360,000 eternal experience points. Cultivation, True Body, Universe Realm Tao Lord, 900 yuan/900 yuan, Clone, Universe Realm Tao Lord, 900 yuan/900 yuan, Tao Technique, Sword Tao Origin, 10,000 yuan/10,000 yuan, 5 Elements Origin, 10,000 yuan/10,000 yuan, Life Origin, 10,000 yuan/10,000 yuan, Space Heavenly Tao, 1,000 yuan/1000 yuan, Time Heavenly Tao, 1,000 yuan/1000 yuan, Destruction Heavenly Tao, 1,000 yuan/1000 yuan, Reincarnation Heavenly Tao, 1,000 yuan/1000 yuan, Ultimate Saber Tao, 1,000 yuan/1000 yuan, Secret Technique. Mountain Sea Sword Scripture, Heavenly Tao Scroll, 10,000 yuan/10,000 yuan, 8 Lives, Level 3, 30,000 yuan/30,000 yuan, Cloud Annihilation, Level 3, 30,000 yuan/30,000 yuan, Deduction, 1 million experience points once conversion. 1 eternal experience points equals 1 trillion experience points. 1 eternal fragment equals 1 eternal experience points. 7,421 trillion eternal experience points, 226918 yuan. Although he had obtained 360,000 eternal experience points, Jiang Ci had also consumed a lot of eternal experience points for more than 300,000 years. Just deducing the Tao techniques had consumed more than 100,000 eternal experience points. It could be said that without the rewards of each stage of the Tao technique passageway, he would not have had the chance to obtain the Tao technique inheritance later on. The other consumption was the improvement of the 2 ultimate techniques of the 8 Clouds Legacy, 8 Lives and Cloud Annihilation. The 2 ultimate techniques target the body and the primordial spirit respectively. The 3rd level is the limit of the Heavenly Venerable. 1 step further and I will become an eternal supreme. Jiang Ci's eyes were shining. The Dream Origin realm did not have the tyrannical laws of heaven and earth like the Chaos Sea. He could cultivate to the eternal realm here. However, there was a huge gap between the Heavenly Venerable and the Eternal Supreme. It had stopped countless talented Heavenly Venerables. However, this gap was not something that could be crossed just because one wanted to. The 3 paths are the body, the primordial spirit, and the Tao technique. If I break through any of them, the other 2 paths can be forcefully opened and I can become an eternal supreme. However, this method is still lacking and is not perfect. What I want to do is to break through all 3 paths at the same time. Only then can I truly reach the eternal limit. Jiang Ci thought to himself. He had the experience points panel. He could indeed break through to the eternal realm with his body and primordial spirit at any time. However, doing so would be equivalent to giving up the Tao technique path. Of the 8 Tao techniques, I now have 3 at the origin level. The remaining 5 are still at the heavenly Tao level. First, I will cultivate all 8 Tao techniques to the origin level. Then, I will break through together. Jiang Ci was ambitious. At that time, his body, primordial spirit, and Tao techniques would all break through to the limit. In that case, he would directly become an eternal supreme or even stronger. It could be called the strongest path. Of course, this would require him to continue to work hard in the future. Right now, his priority was still to break through the verdant cloud building. The 4th floor already has such a great opportunity. What's next? Jiang Ci could not help but look forward to it. He lifted his foot and walked to the center of the circular stone platform. Through there, he could enter the 5th floor. The next moment. Boom! A pillar of light descended and enveloped Jiang Ci. In the gray palace next to the verdant cloud building, the 4 commanders were still sitting on the throne and waiting. Because they could not see Jiang Xi's scene in the depths of the Tao Technique passage, they could only wait. Wang! The screen of light that had been floating in the air all this time suddenly changed. The 5th floor of the verdant cloud building. The Black Mist Commander was pleasantly surprised. It hasn't even been 1,000,000 years and he has already entered the 5th floor. No matter what, he has begun to sprint from the 5th floor to the 7th floor. The Blood Armor Commander, the Black Mist Commander, the Beast Commander, and the Silver-Armored Female Commander were all very excited at this moment. For more than 300,000 years, they had been waiting here. During this period, there would be different numbers of Tao Lord warriors participating in the elite missions every 10,000 years. However, none of them could enter the 5th floor. Only this warrior, Shan Hai, had not come out of the 4th floor. Now, he had finally entered the 5th floor. I wonder if he can pass the 3rd floor and enter the 8th floor. If the 4th floor is the foundation of an expert, then the 5th, 6th, and 7th floors are the sublimation of strength. They are also more difficult. In the long history of the Dream Origin realm, a large number of elite warriors have reached the 5th floor. However, most of them were eliminated on the 5th floor. A small number of them were eliminated on the 6th floor, and a very small number were eliminated on the 7th floor. Only one person has reached the 8th floor so far. The 5th, 6th, and 7th floors are indeed very difficult. However, this Shan Hai's talent and strength are also very powerful. It is very likely that he will pass the 3rd floor. The 4 commanders sighed and looked forward to it. The verdant cloud building hid the biggest secret of the Dream Origin realm. The 4 commanders could not see the 8th and 9th floors at all. Even the Blood Armor Commander, who was a Chaos Origin Divine General, could not investigate the situation there. The 8th floor was the last obstacle. Once he passed it, he would reach the 9th floor and become the first elite Tao Lord warrior in history. However, throughout history, there had only been one extremely strong elite warrior who had made it to the 8th level, but had failed at that level. The 5th floor of the verdant cloud building was a vast world of ice and snow. Jiang Xi looked around. Only me. Where are the other warriors? There were 15 warriors who had entered the 4th floor with him. More than 300,000 years had passed. During this period, he had completed at least 30 elite missions. Was there no other warrior who had reached the 5th floor except for him? Boom! Suddenly, the surrounding wind and snow swept up and enveloped Jiang Xi. The old voice sounded in Jiang Xi's mind, "Warrior Shan Hai, from the 5th floor onwards, you are the only one who has reached the 5th floor. There is a powerful opponent on the 5th floor. If you defeat him, you can enter the 6th floor. If you fail, you will leave the verdant cloud building." Jiang Xi nodded secretly. Indeed, only the first 3 floors had life-threatening dangers. Even if he failed now, there was no risk of dying. Suddenly, his eyes moved and he looked into the distance. He saw a figure in a white robe walking over in the vast wind and snow. He seemed to be walking slowly, but his speed was extremely fast. Jiang Xi quickly saw that it was a handsome man in a white robe. He looked exactly like a human and had a conspicuous red mole between his eyebrows. The white-robed man's eyes were full of admiration. He smiled and said, "Warrior Shan Hai, I will maintain the same level as you. Since you are good at sword techniques, I will fight you with sword techniques." Whoosh! He stretched out his hand and the surrounding snowflakes gathered crazily, quickly condensing into an ice sword. At the same time, he began to emit a soaring battle intent. It felt as if he had turned into a long sword that could pierce the sky. That powerful battle intent was constantly suppressing Jiang Xi. Sword. Jiang Xi held an 8th-level long sword in his hand. His battle intent was no less than his opponent's. Very good. The white-robed man nodded slightly. Take my first sword. Whoosh! His figure was like a ghost. His sword was ethereal and streaks of 5-colored sword shadows appeared one after another. Almost instantly, hundreds of millions of sword shadows appeared in front of Jiang Xi. It was as if he had fallen into a world of swords that enveloped his body and his heart, mere illusion. Jiang Xi roared in his heart. Suddenly, all the illusions were destroyed. At that moment, the ice sword was already in front of Jiang Xi. Clang! The ice sword and Jiang Xi's long sword collided. The white-robed man was directly sent flying backward at an extremely fast speed. Second sword. The white-robed man rushed over at an even faster speed. His aura was soaring as if he had gone mad. This sword seemed to contain a hidden space and pressed down on Jiang Xi. Break! Jiang Xi's long sword flashed with a bright sword light and met the attack directly. Whoosh! The space was directly shattered. Third sword. The white-robed man roared and attacked again. When the ice sword whistled, the flow of time seemed to have changed. It seemed to be extremely slow, but at an even faster speed, it arrived in front of Jiang Xi. However, it was still defeated by Jiang Xi's sword. Seventh sword. The sword slashed down like a knife. Eighth sword. The sword was like the king of swords. The wind and snow in the vast world all gathered together. At that moment, Jiang Xi had already confirmed that the white-robed man was using the sword to perform the 8 Paths Dao technique. Next, the white-robed man's 9th sword was the 5 Elements sword technique, which confirmed his guess even more. 36th sword. 88th sword. 109th sword. The white-robed man was like a madman. After his sword was blocked, he immediately performed a new sword technique. Each sword technique was different. Jiang Xi remained calm. He could clearly feel that the power of the white-robed man's sword technique was constantly increasing. Every 8 sword techniques, the power would slightly increase by a level. The 4th level is the theory, and the 5th level is the application of actual combat. Jiang Xi understood. No wonder the reward was from the 4th level onwards. The white-robed man in front of him was using this method to show him the application of the 8 Paths Dao technique in actual combat. The Dao technique is the foundation. Only those who can truly transform the 8 Paths Dao technique into actual combat strength are true experts. Jiang Xi's eyes lit up. He took every clash of swords more seriously. Chapter 678. The power of the white-robed man's sword technique slowly increased from the level of a desolate level Dao Lord. Desolate level Dao Lord, flood level Dao Lord, Aeon level Dao Lord, universe level Dao Lord. Although Riverward could easily block every sword strike, he cherished this kind of battle very much. This was because apart from the sword Dao, life Dao, and 5 elemental Dao, he had no other Dao techniques. He had just comprehended the other 5 Dao techniques, space, time, destruction, reincarnation, and saber Dao, and did not have much combat experience. This kind of targeted battle was even more valuable than fighting tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands of times. It could quickly improve his combat understanding of the other 5 Dao techniques. In the end, the white-robed man's sword technique reached the limit of the universe level, which was a peak rank, 6 secret technique. It was still an 8-element Dao technique that circulated continuously. Every strike contained endless mysteries. As Jiang Xi fought, he used his experience panel to deduce these sword moves and ponder over their mysteries. 360 slashes. The white-robed man shouted again. When this slash was also repelled by Jiang Xi, the white-robed man retreated far away. He stood in the vast world of ice and snow and did not attack again. Oh. That's it. Jiang Xi was still unsatisfied. At that moment, the white-robed man's sword technique was already at the perfected heavenly Dao level. Clearly, this elite mission was targeted at Dao Lord warriors. There would not be any Origins level secret techniques. Since these 360 slashes can't do anything to you, take my stronger sword technique. the white-robed man said again. The ice sword in his hand instantly lit up, and a 5-colored sword beam whistled out. However, there seemed to be a world hidden in the sword beam. 5-colored world. Dao technique fusion. Jiang Xi was clearly shocked. It was a sword move formed by the fusion of the 5 elements Heavenly Dao and Space Heavenly Dao. This was the first time he had seen an expert use a fusion of Dao techniques above the Heavenly Dao level. Good timing. Jiang Xi did not retreat at all and slashed out. A resplendent sword beam traversed the world. Sword Dao, 5 elements Heavenly Dao, and Life Heavenly Dao. This was a rank 7 secret technique formed by the fusion of 3 Dao techniques. Boom! A sword with a 5-colored world. The sword was resplendent, born from destruction. The two collided. Boom! A terrifying power erupted, and the wind and snow howled, engulfing the entire 5th level. The fusion of 2 heavenly Daos actually reached the level of a 7th-tier secret technique? Jiang Xi was somewhat surprised. He had only reached this step after fusing 3 heavenly Daos. What's missing? Or is there some other mysteries behind the fusion of his Dao? Riverward immediately used the interface to deduce, wanting to find out the difference. We've finally reached this step. Ha, very good. He walks the path of Dao fusion, and the greatest value of the 5th level is the white-robed puppet's Dao fusion technique. The 4 commanders all laughed. In the past, many warriors had made it to the 5th level, and they had also learned some Daoist techniques. However, there were not many who could walk down this path. Following that, Jiang Xi also fell into a frenzied battle. He did not continue to remain calm. Instead, he wholeheartedly clashed with the white-robed man. He used the interface to deduce and at the same time comprehend the mysteries within. 399th Sword. The white-robed man instantly transformed into a huge tornado. It was a tornado formed by countless golden sword lights. The golden sword lights came one after another, stacking layer upon layer, and whistling as they enveloped Jiang Xi. Jiang Xi was at the center of the tornado. He growled and suddenly swung the long sword in his hand. Disperse. Boom. 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 The tornado formed by the golden sword lights instantly exploded as Jiang Xi swung his sword. A light gray sword light suddenly burst out and spread out at a strange speed. Everything around him exploded with a loud boom. All energy and space-time exploded. The sword light tornado formed by the layers of golden sword lights also turned into nothingness. One sword annihilated everything. The white-robed man was directly thrown out, and then he stopped very far away. He looked at Jiang Xi in shock. At this moment, Jiang Xi's eyes were full of divine light. He succeeded. Although the white-robed man had fused 2 heavenly Daos each time, he had finally captured the mystery of the fusion. And just now, he had successfully taken a big step forward in the domain of mystic arts. 3 Dao techniques at the origin level and 5 Dao techniques at the heavenly Dao level had all been fused into one sword strike. That incomparably domineering sword strike seemed to be able to shatter everything and destroy the void. The power of that sword strike was an 8th stage mystic art. If all 8 Dao techniques are at the origin level, then how powerful will this sword strike be? Jiang Xi's heart surged. Previously, at the end of the 4th level, the blurry figure had said that cultivating 8 Dao techniques at the same time was not the limit. Fusing 8 Dao techniques was the limit. Now, he had done it. I created this sword strike in the verdant cloud brothel, and my goal is to reach the top of the 9th level. It's called a meteoric rise. The Mountain Sea sword scripture had added another powerful sword move. And this move also allowed the Mountain Sea sword scripture to advance to a 8th stage mystic art. In the Grey Palace, the 4 commanders looked at each other. Their eyes were filled with shock, incomparable shock. How did he do it? He fused 8 Dao techniques after exchanging 399 blows with the white-robed puppet. This. Are we witnessing history and a miracle? Are we witnessing the first peerless figure in history to fuse 8 Dao techniques? Although it's just a preliminary fusion, its power has already reached the level of an 8th stage mystic art. 7th stage to 9th stage mystic arts corresponded to the heavenly venerate level. To be able to create an 8th stage mystic art, one could become a 2nd step heavenly venerate with a little cultivation. I'm looking forward to it even more. The Chaos Origin Divine General level blood-armored commander could not maintain his composure. His voice trembled slightly. He must reach the 9th level. No, he must reach the 9th level. He is a peerless figure like His Majesty the Divine King. The blood-armored commander stared at Jiang Xi on the screen. The other 3 commanders also nodded. They could not hide the excitement and anticipation on their faces. On the 5th level of the Verdant Cloud Brothel. The white-robed man did not use his 400 sword strike. He looked at Jiang Xi with a smile. 8th stage mystic art, I lost. Jiang Xi nodded slightly. He could already tell that the white-robed man's mystic art was at most at the peak of the 7th stage. Now that he had created an 8th stage mystic art, he was in an invincible position. The white-robed man smiled again. No warrior has ever created an 8th stage mystic art at this level. Almost all of them used their ultimate treasures to fight with me to the end before they barely passed. You are the first warrior to pass this level using only a mystic art. I hope you can go further in the Verdant Cloud Brothel. After he finished speaking, whoosh. He turned and left, disappearing into the wind and snow. Jiang Xi smiled slightly. This level tested one's application of mystic arts. It had little to do with ultimate treasures. He could imagine that if he took out his 9th stage ultimate treasure, the Killing Shadow Sword, the white-robed man's ice sword would become a 9th stage ultimate treasure. Boom! A beam of light shone down from the sky. It enveloped Jiang Xi and sent him to the 6th level. On the 6th level of the Verdant Cloud Brothel. As soon as Jiang Xi appeared, he immediately explored this world. This was a world of mountains and hills. It was also vast and boundless. As long as you block this world's attack, you can pass the 6th level and enter the 7th level. Warrior Shanhai, you are very close to reaching the top of the Verdant Cloud Brothel. The aged voice reverberated in the sky. Jiang Xi's expression was calm, but he did not let down his guard. Block this world's attack. It sounded simple, but the difficulty was probably not small. It was definitely more difficult than the 5th level. Boom! In a vast area of mountains and hills far away from Jiangxi, the vast area suddenly trembled. It was as if a huge monster was about to emerge from the ground, causing the surrounding ground to crack and bulge. A large number of mountains collapsed. Soon, a huge black figure emerged from the ground. It was as if it was holding up the sky, a giant beast. Jiang Xi kept watching. The huge black figure was a 4-legged giant beast. Its back was covered with huge spikes. No, to be precise, it was a black long sword. Roar! The giant beast raised its head and roared. Whoosh! Each of the black long swords on its back emitted a black sword light that shot out in all directions. However, they only shot out a few 100 million kilometers before dissipating. 1,000 black swords. Jiang Xi had already confirmed the number. After the 1,000 swords giant beast roared, it looked at Jiang Xi. Its eyes were like holes in the sky. It was incomparably huge. Its voice shook the sky. I have not come out for a very long time. Today, I finally met someone who has reached the 6th level. Warrior, I will slowly deal with you. The longer you last, the happier I will be. Ha, it is very difficult to meet a living being on the 6th level. Jiang Xi also laughed. The longer you last? That depends on what you have. Roar. the thousand swords giant beast suddenly roared. Immediately after, the thousand black swords on its back all left its body and floated in the air. The giant beast was incomparably huge. Naturally, the black swords were not small. Each of them was 1,000,000 kilometers long. Warrior, I hope you can live long enough. The thousand swords giant beast smiled evilly. Whoosh! 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 Thousands of black swords that were 1,000,000 kilometers long whistled and attacked Jiang Xi. Like a flash of lightning, they instantly enveloped Jiang Xi's sky. Immediately after, they covered Jiang Xi and trapped him in the sword array. Jiang Xi frowned slightly. Although the momentum was vast, he did not feel any fluctuations of Taoist techniques. It seemed that the power was not that strong. However, he did not underestimate it. The rank 8 supreme treasure, purple pattern golden wings, appeared on his back. Then, he flapped them and began to dodge. When Jiang Xi blocked the first sword shadow, the other 999 black swords had already surrounded him in all directions, leaving him no way to escape. Boom! Jiang Xi used his movement technique and held the long sword in his hand. In an instant, he seemed to have turned into a huge sword light and collided directly with a black sword. Then, he used the force to fly backward. However, in the next moment, Jiang Xi's expression changed slightly. He only felt that a strange force had directly attacked the depths of his soul. It was as if the black sword had shrunk countless times and entered his mind, trying to tear his mind world apart. Spiritual attack. This was not the spiritual attack of the third level, but a kind of attack. The spiritual attack was a violent sense of oppression. And this black sword contained the power of the soul. Through a special attack method, it magnified this power and directly affected his mind. Strange, mysterious. Jiang Xi carefully sensed it. The spiritual attack of the black sword did not threaten him at all. Because it was only at the limit of the Tao Lord level, and his mind cultivation had already reached the Eternal Supreme level. Of course, one black sword was the limit of the Tao Lord level. With 1,000 swords added together, even if his mind cultivation had reached the heavenly venerable level, it would directly shatter and become retarded. However, Jiang Xi was very relaxed. His movement technique was good to begin with. At most, only 10 black swords could attack him at the same time. The 5th, 6th, and 7th levels. For him, the 6th level is probably the easiest. The Black Mist Commander looked at the light screen and sighed. His mind realm is rare. It's really rare for a Tao Lord to have the mind realm of an Eternal Supreme, the silver-armored female commander said with a smile. In the past, many Tao Lord warriors have reached the 6th level. Many of them have the mind realm of a heavenly venerable, but in the end, not many can withstand the spiritual attack of 1,000 swords. I wonder how far this warrior Mountain Sea can go. The Beast Commander said in a muffled voice. In the end, the Chaos Essence Divine General Level Blood Armored Commander nodded and said, 1,000 swords will definitely feel embarrassed if Mountain Sea deals with it so easily. He will definitely continue to strengthen his spiritual attack. He will only stop when Mountain Sea is suppressed until he can no longer resist. I bet that 1,000 swords will have to use the 1,000 Illusion Heart Sword to defeat Mountain Sea. The Beast Commander laughed. Jiang Xi was indeed very relaxed. He even had the time to study the spiritual power of the Black Sword. This was the first time he had seen an expert using spirit force as a means of attack. Even in the vast information of the 8 Clouds' inheritance, there was no record of it. Boom. 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 Jiang Xi was extremely fast. His purple-patterned golden wings kept flapping, making him extremely agile. In the end, under the siege of the 1,000 black swords, he completely turned into a blurry sword shadow. The sword shadow collided with the black swords one after another, producing deafening booms. If this continues, you won't be able to do anything to me even after an era. Jiang Xi chuckled. He wanted to anger the Thousand Swords giant beast and see how strong this spiritual attack was. Little warrior. The Thousand Swords giant beast roared. It was angry. In this situation, it naturally knew that the other party was very relaxed. Suddenly, the 1,000 black swords changed. They quickly shrank, and then a layer of misty white light enveloped them. It was as if the spiritual power had materialized, but it was also extremely illusory. Whoosh! Whoosh! Although the black swords had shrunk, they had become stronger. Clang! A black sword collided with Jiang Xi. The misty white light turned into an illusion and went straight into Jiang Xi's mind. In an instant, Jiang Xi was no longer as relaxed as before. A spiritual attack at the level of a third-step heavenly venerable. Jiang Xi's expression was serious. Just now, his heart seemed to have been torn open, and a portion of his strength had also been lost. Of course, with his mental state cultivation, he quickly recovered. I can't be hit by too many black swords at the same time. Whoosh! Jiang Xi erupted with more strength and used a small portion of the 8 Lives secret art. His strength and speed increased tenfold. The next moment, a scene of heaven and earth collapsing appeared. Rumble! A light gray sword light scattered from his long sword, causing all the energy, objects, and space-time in the surroundings to explode. The 1,000 black swords were also torn apart and thrown out. It was the new sword move of the Mountain Sea Sword Sutra, Rising Cloud. I was wrong. The beast commander looked at the screen and exclaimed, even if the 1,000 swords used the 1,000 illusion sword, it couldn't defeat him. I didn't expect him to be able to withstand such a powerful spiritual attack. It seems that this Mountain Sea not only has a high mental state cultivation, but his ability to control his mental state has also reached an extremely high level. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to block the 1,000 illusion sword so easily. The blood-armored commander sighed. It's time to go to the 7th level. Let's see if he has the ability to seize the opportunity, the Black Mist commander said. Even we can't obtain more opportunities on that level. The silver-armored female commander was also looking forward to it. Chapter 679. On the 6th floor of the Verdant Cloud building, there was a vast world of mountains and hills. Warrior, you are the strongest Tao Lord warrior I have ever met. I can't defeat you. Perhaps, you can reach the top of the Verdant Cloud building. The 1,000-sword beast said with a booming voice. Then, it drilled into the ground and disappeared. Riverward, on the other hand, heaved a sigh of relief. He was really afraid that the 1,000 black swords emitting white light from before would have their power increased by another level. In that case, he was not confident that he could block it. It would be great if I could learn such a skill. Jiang Xi thought to himself. His mental state cultivation at the Eternal Supreme level was one of his advantages. However, this advantage was passive and could not be used actively. If he could learn such a spiritual attack, his opponents would be caught off guard when he used his spiritual power in the future. Armor treasures, soul armor treasures, and any other treasures would be useless. Because he did not have any treasures to defend against spiritual attacks, he could only rely on his own mental state cultivation to withstand it. Those who were weaker than him could only die. Boom! At this moment, another light beam descended from the sky and enveloped Jiang Xi, sending him to the 7th floor. The 7th floor of the Verdant Cloud brothel was a world of ice. The mountain ranges of ice seemed to be transparent. The 7th floor. Jiang Xi was full of anticipation. There are 9 floors in the Verdant Cloud building. The first 8 floors are the obstacles. As long as I pass the 8th floor and enter the 9th floor, I will succeed. At this moment, he could guess that the Verdant Cloud building hid a huge secret, perhaps the biggest secret of the Dream Origin world. This was in line with his goals when he first entered the Dream Origin world. First, he wanted to break through the Heavenly Master limit in the Dream Origin world and achieve eternity. Second, he wanted the killer's shadow sword to break through the limit and become a rank 10 treasure. Third, he wanted to find the secret of the dream origin world. Now, Jiang Xi was not far from these 3 goals. There are 2 more obstacles left. Perhaps, I can find the ultimate secret of the dream origin world here. Jiang Xi observed his surroundings carefully. No matter how powerful he was, he could not let his guard down. The closer he was to victory, the more cautious he had to be. Whoosh. The cold air in the sky rippled and formed a vortex. Then, a huge golden sword of light appeared. Lightsaber? Jiang Xi was a little surprised. The first 3 levels of the verdant cloud brothel were filled with life-threatening dangers, and the 3rd level was exactly the same. There was a whirlpool and a gigantic sword of light. The lightsaber would release streaks of white sword light, bringing about a psychological impact on the warriors. It's the same on the 7th level. Could it be another spirit shock? Jiang Xi was puzzled. This test will be repeated, right? Wang. The golden light sword released a misty golden light that enveloped the area below and Jiang Xi's body. Warrior Mountain Sea. The old voice sounded in Jiang Xi's mind. Pass the test of the heart sword and you can enter the 8th floor of the green cloud brothel. In the next moment, the old voice disappeared. Boom! The blurry golden light released by the light sword instantly erupted with a powerful spiritual impact. It was like a waterfall, wanting to crush Jiang Xi's mental state. Jiang Xi only frowned slightly with a serious expression. It was really a spiritual impact, but it was much more powerful than the 3rd level. The 1st level was at the first step heavenly venerable level, while the 3rd level only had desolate level Dao lords. It seems that it will be difficult to pass this level. Jiang Xi looked up at the huge golden sword of light. He did not dodge. The spiritual impact was invisible and formless. There was no way to dodge and could only be resisted. In the Grey Palace, the 4 commanders were still staring at the screen. With his mental state cultivation, it shouldn't be a problem for him to pass the 7th level, said the blood-armored commander. I just don't know how much of the Thousand Hearts sword technique he can learn. The Thousand Hearts sword technique is a special mystic technique created by His Majesty the Godly King. It can be said to be the most special attack method, said the Black Mist commander with a sigh. In our dream origin world, only the elites or experts who have made special contributions will be bestowed with the Thousand Hearts sword technique. However, they will only be bestowed with a portion of it. Yes, there were 6 Dao Lord warriors who reached the 7th level. 5 of them failed, and 1 of them successfully reached the 8th level. Among the 6 of them, the worst one did not even fully comprehend the 1st level of the Thousand Hearts sword technique. The best one only learned the 3rd level. I wonder how many levels this warrior Mountain Sea can learn. Jiang Xi did not know that the reward hidden on the 7th level was the spiritual attack that he had been thinking about when he passed the 6th level. At this moment, he was still resisting the spiritual impact of the golden sword of light with his mental state cultivation. Do I have to keep resisting like this? Jiang Xi thought. I wonder what the limit of the spiritual impact on this level is. Will it reach the eternal supreme level? If that was the case, it was still uncertain whether he could pass this level. After all, his mental state was only at the eternal supreme level. If the spiritual impact really exceeded his tolerance limit, he might fall unconscious and be teleported out. It's only the 7th level now. If it's really that crazy, who can reach the top? Jiang Xi shook his head. He was still confident in himself. The misty golden light enveloped Jiang Xi as if he was wearing a layer of golden armor. The power of the spiritual impact continued to increase, and soon reached the limit of a heavenly venerable. However, Jiang Xi still felt very relaxed. Jiang Xi's eyes moved, and he turned to look at a glacier mountain in the distance. That is. Ancient words began to appear inside the almost transparent iceberg. It was the common language of the primordial realm civilization. With Jiang Xi's foundation, he could naturally recognize it instantly. Soon, the densely packed words completely filled the interior of the iceberg. Jiang Xi also saw clearly what those words recorded. The first level of the Thousand Heart Sword Technique. The Thousand Heart Sword Technique? Jiang Xi was pleasantly surprised. Ha, the reward is indeed from the fourth level onwards. Although there is a test, the better the performance in the test, the better the reward. I didn't expect that the 7th level would directly reward me with a spiritual attack technique. This was definitely a great gain for him. It was another great opportunity. One had to know that even the godly king level 8 cloud's inheritance that he possessed did not record any spiritual attack technique. Obviously, the 8 clouds of the past generations, including the founder, the 8 clouds godly king, did not know how to use spiritual power. However, the godly king of the dream origin realm had such a technique. Spiritual attacks were invisible and formless. No treasure could defend against it. It was definitely a great weapon in battle. Any spiritual life has thoughts and thoughts. The essence of thoughts and thoughts is spiritual power. When a weak life dies, this spiritual power will dissipate. And on the strong, this spiritual power will be reflected to a certain extent. For example, the pressure of a strong person. Even if a strong person dies, the spiritual power that permeates his body will not dissipate. Even a drop of blood, a piece of scale, or a strand of hair will contain a powerful spiritual impact. When a strong person is alive and fighting with an opponent, the one with a stronger state of mind will be able to make the opponent uneasy with just a glance. He will have the upper hand before making a move. If the difference in state of mind cultivation is too great, perhaps a glance will cause the opponent's mind to collapse and fall into a coma. Jiang Xi looked at the opening content of the first level of the Thousand Hearts Sword Technique and nodded as he read. Obviously, what was mentioned at the beginning was only the crudest and most superficial use of spiritual power. There was no technique to speak of. Next was the main event. Only when one's state of mind cultivation has reached the level of an eternal supreme can one cultivate this technique. This was the content after the first level of the Thousand Hearts Sword Technique. However, the content of the first level was vast. Inside this transparent iceberg, paragraphs of text were still constantly emerging. Jiang Xi's primordial spirit was already at the limit of a heavenly master. He could remember a lot of content at a glance, but he still felt that his speed was not enough. At this moment, the spiritual impact emitted by the golden light sword in the sky was constantly increasing. It had already surpassed the limit of a heavenly master and continued to rise. There was a huge gap between the limit of a heavenly master and the eternal supreme. It was the same in terms of state of mind. It would take a certain amount of time for one to reach the level of an eternal supreme. Therefore, Jiang Xi could still easily withstand it for now. Finally, when no more new words appeared inside the iceberg, everything came to a stop. The first level of the Thousand Hearts Sword Technique was fully revealed. It took such a long time for the first level to completely appear. If one's state of mind cultivation has not reached the level of a heavenly master, I'm afraid one can't even finish reading the first volume. Jiang Xi sighed. Just as the first volume was completely revealed, Jiang Xi looked at another iceberg in the distance and saw that words had also begun to appear inside the iceberg. The second level of the Thousand Hearts Sword Technique. Jiang Xi was overjoyed and quickly entered the shorthand state again. Soon, he had completely memorized the second level. Jiang Xi heaved a sigh of relief. At this moment, the spiritual impact emitted by the golden light sword was already close to that of an eternal supreme. A moment later, it's coming again. Jiang Xi quickly turned around and looked at another iceberg beside him. Words began to appear there as well. In the Grey Palace. This is already the third level of the Thousand Hearts Sword Technique. Soon. The Black Fog Commander stared at the screen. So fast. He has finished learning the third level. Compared to the warriors of the past, he is already the best of all the warriors in history. The Thousand Hearts sword technique has a total of 8 levels. I wonder which level he has learned. The Chaos Essence Divine General level blood-armored commander shook his head. His Majesty the Godly King didn't put all 8 levels on the 7th level, did he? Who knows? The highest level of the Tao Lord warriors before him only learned the 3rd level. Who knows how many levels His Majesty put on the 7th level? The other 2 commanders also wanted to believe it. They did not know either. Although the 4 commanders were eternal level elites, even they had not obtained all 8 levels of the Thousand Hearts sword technique. After all, for a superpower, this kind of powerful inheritance was more important as it progressed. The powerhouses below would definitely be able to obtain more based on merit and talent. The 4th level. It's already the 4th level. The spiritual impact of the Heart Sword should be at the level of an Eternal Supreme. However, this Mountain Sea does not seem to feel much. It depends on the situation. He will be able to comprehend more. The 4 commanders were looking forward to it. They were also curious. How much could this unprecedented Tao Lord warrior learn? On the 7th floor of the Verdant Cloud Brothel, Jiang Xi stood in front of an iceberg and heaved a sigh of relief. He had finally memorized all the contents of the 4th level. The content of each level of the Thousand Hearts sword technique was very long and vast. Just the time for the words to appear took a while. He was afraid that the spiritual impact of the Golden Light Sword would reach his limit. The 5th level. Jiang Xi looked at another iceberg. A large number of words constantly appeared inside the transparent iceberg. In just a moment, a small part of the 5th level had appeared. His expression changed. Not good. Jiang Xi looked up at the golden light sword in the sky. The power of the golden light that was constantly emitting had finally reached the level of an Eternal Supreme. And it was constantly increasing. There is pressure. Jiang Xi suddenly felt that his consciousness was not as clear as before. He was affected. Faster. Faster. He did not waste time and hurriedly continued to memorize the contents of the 5th level. However, after the power of this spiritual impact crossed the gap between a heavenly venerable and an eternal supreme, it seemed that the speed of the increase in power had also increased. Jiang Xi knew that this was his own illusion. Because his mental state cultivation was only at the level of an eternal supreme, now that he was getting closer and closer to his limit, his state was declining faster and faster. Faster, faster, faster. Jiang Xi's gaze focused as he stared at the iceberg. Another 15 seconds passed. The contents of the 5th level had completely appeared. In the next moment, a new level began to appear on another iceberg. The 6th level. Jiang Xi also felt that the speed of the emergence of the Thousand Hearts sword technique was also increasing. It seemed that the stronger the spiritual impact was, the faster the words appeared on the iceberg. Boom! Jiang Xi only felt the sound of the universe exploding in his mind. His mental state world was trembling violently. His entire body was trembling, and his face was pale. However, he still persevered and kept memorizing the contents of the 6th level. At this moment, the power of the spiritual impact had reached the level of an eternal supreme. Bang! Jiang Xi's mental state had reached its limit. He could no longer hold on and sat on the ground. No, I can still hold on. His entire body seemed to be on the verge of collapse. His consciousness was blurred, and his body trembled violently. One had to know that the strength of his primordial spirit was only at the limit of a heavenly venerable. If it was an ordinary heavenly venerable, his mental state would have collapsed in an instant. However, Jiang Xi was still trying his best to look up at the iceberg with his last bit of consciousness. I can't fall down. At least this 6th level. I must finish reading the 6th level. Crack. 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 The veins on Jiang Xi's body bulged, and a terrifying aura erupted uncontrollably. The surrounding glaciers were cracking. However, the iceberg was not affected at all. Seconds passed. In Jiang Xi's eyes, this second seemed to be as long as 10,000 years. It was as if the speed at which the words appeared inside the iceberg had also slowed down. Finish reading. Finish reading. Finish reading. This was the only thought left in Jiang Xi's mind. He forgot everything and stared into the distance. Finally, the contents of the 6th level of the Thousand Hearts Sword technique appeared. He finished reading. At the same time, in another iceberg, the 7th level of the Thousand Hearts Sword technique appeared. However, at this moment, Jiang Xi could no longer hold on. The last string in his heart snapped, and his mental state world collapsed. He did not have the chance to see the 7th level at all. Boom! A beam of light descended from the sky and enveloped the unconscious Jiang Xi. His figure disappeared. Chapter 680. God King Valley, in the Grey Palace next to the Verdant Cloud Brothel. In the main hall on the 3rd floor, the 4 great commanders fell into silence. Everything was silent. They stared fixedly at the screen of light. The rapidly changing images of the 7th floor made them feel suffocated. At the final juncture, the Thousand Hearts Sword art appeared faster and faster. There was no gap between each level. The longer they persevered, the more they might be able to see the contents of the next level. From this, it could be seen that the closer a Dao Lord was to the limit, the harder it was to advance. That was why the Thousand Hearts Sword art appeared so quickly in the later stages. The 5th level is complete. The 6th level is complete too. Unfortunately, he's fallen. Seeing Jiang Xi's figure disappear on the screen, the 4 commanders actually heaved a sigh of relief. They exchanged glances and smiled. A full 6 levels. He's destined to be stronger than us, the Chaos Origin Divine Champion said with a sigh. They were all amazed. Even they had only learned the first 5 levels when the God King had bestowed them with the sword art. But this warrior Mountain Sea, a Dao Lord, had learned the first 6 levels of the Thousand Hearts Sword art. At this moment, the 4 commanders were also staring at the screen as they spoke. Put it away. The blood-armored commander smiled. The Black Mist commander nodded. Then, the screen in the center of the hall disappeared. This was because even the 4 commanders couldn't see the scenes on the 8th and 9th floors of the Verdant Cloud Brothel. So, what exactly was happening in the Verdant Cloud Brothel? What were the difficulties of the 8th floor? What big secrets did the 9th floor hold? What did the God King leave behind? They had no idea. Wait. We can only wait. If he really succeeds, the elite mission will automatically disappear. There was only one Verdant Cloud Brothel. There was only one elite mission for Dao Lord warriors. Once someone succeeded, the mission would disappear and never appear again. Will he succeed? The Black Mist commander was still worried. The only Dao Lord warrior who entered the 8th floor failed after he failed. We asked him about it, but his memories of the 8th floor were erased. Even he doesn't know what happened there. There must be a big secret on the 8th floor. Otherwise, the God King wouldn't have erased his memories, said the silver-armored female commander. Let's wait. Although the 4 commanders were anxious in their hearts, they still maintained their calm and curiosity. They were born in the Dream Origin realm and were naturally loyal to His Majesty the Godly King. If His Majesty the God King ordered them to die, they would not hesitate. However, they were also curious. His Majesty the Godly King had left the Verdant Cloud Brothel behind in order to wait for a peerless figure. What kind of peerless figure could make His Majesty the Divine King wait like this? And what was on the 8th and 9th floors of the Verdant Cloud Brothel? Jiang Xi felt spacetime distort as he arrived at the 8th level. At this moment, his mind was still immersed in the scene on the 7th floor. Judging from the power of the mental impact at the end of the 7th floor, my mental state cultivation should be close to that of an eternal great sovereign, but it's still a little lacking. Although I didn't get the full content of the 1000 Hearts Sword technique, the 6 stages are enough for me to practice for a long time. Jiang Xi was very satisfied with his harvest this time. From the 2 ultimate arts of 8 Clouds Inheritance, 8 Lives and Cloud Annihilation were also at the 8th level, but the 6th level was the Chaos Origin Divine King Realm. From this, it could be inferred that the first 6 stages of the 1000 Hearts Sword technique were enough for him to practice for a long time. I'm now on the 8th floor, which is also the final hurdle of the Verdant Cloud Brothel. It's also the final obstacle for me to reach the 9th floor. Jiang Xi collected his thoughts and looked around. This was a void world. In the vast void, there was only a small floating continent. It was very small, with a diameter of only 1,000,000 kilometers. Jiang Xi did not hesitate as he transformed into a stream of light and flew towards the small continent. It didn't look far, but it took a lot of time to fly. This was because the 8th floor's void seemed to be suppressed by something. He couldn't teleport or increase his speed. So, after a long time, Jiang Xi finally arrived on the continent at a glance. The entire small continent was bare without any debris. However, there were many ancient primordial realm words on the ground. Oh. Jiang Xi quickly read the entire content. The 8th floor of the Verdant Cloud Brothel is the final hurdle of the Elite Sequence mission. Observe the void around you and you will be able to learn a secret technique. If you can master it, you can reach the 9th floor of the Verdant Cloud Brothel. If you fail, your memory will be erased and you will leave the Verdant Cloud Brothel. After reading it, all the words disappeared. Jiang Xi immediately looked up at the surrounding void. As expected, huge words began to appear in the void in all directions. Every word was like a star that was connected to each other. The countless words in the void were like a chaotic picture scroll. There were no pauses or sentences, and all the words were connected. It was unknown which word was the beginning and which was the end. There was no order at all. It's so chaotic. To cultivate the secret technique, I have to sort out the complete content of the secret technique first. But there's no beginning or end. The order of the words is completely messed up. How long will it take to form a sentence and then the entire secret technique? Jiang Xi frowned. This was only the first step. He still had to cultivate. Of course, he wasn't worried about this step because he had the experience points panel. As long as he had the complete secret technique, he could complete the cultivation. The most important thing now was to sort out the secret technique. Time passed. In the blink of an eye, half a month had passed. How do I cultivate? Jiang Xi looked at the words in the void. Every word was emitting light and flickering. It was sometimes strong and sometimes weak. The countless words were like a huge picture scroll that was connected from head to tail. It was displayed in front of Jiang Xi just like that. However, Jiang Xi couldn't understand it. It was as if the meaning of those words was not as simple as it seemed. Even the flickering light had a pattern. Not only did the words have to be combined, but the pattern of the light also had to be matched. Do I have to stop at the 8th level? Jiang Xi shook his head. With the strength of his peak heavenly venerable primordial spirit, it was difficult for him to analyze the correct combination of the words and the pattern of the light. At the same time, he was also using the panel to deduce. However, the efficiency of this kind of deduction was obviously not as high as the efficiency of deducing the secret technique pattern. Fortunately, there were still changes. After an unknown period of time, buzz. Suddenly, Jiang Xi, who had been immersed in deducing the star words, felt all the words in the void light up. In an instant, his spiritual consciousness was sucked into the picture scroll. This process was like his spiritual consciousness entering the Tongtian mountain river painting. But now, almost all of his spiritual awareness had entered the scroll of words in the void. Jiang Xi's body stood motionless on the small floating land. The star words in the void around him shone brightly. They were flickering one after another, containing a special pattern. Whoosh! A blurry figure condensed and appeared in the void. It was not clear whether it was a man or a woman. It could only be confirmed that it was a humanoid. The blurry figure looked at Jiang Xi standing there and sighed softly. This is the second one. Could it be him? The last person who successfully entered the picture scroll world failed very quickly. This time, perhaps we are too delusional. The blurry figure shook his head again. Life is mysterious, reincarnation is mysterious. In this vast world, the probability of waiting for him is too small. The blurry figure didn't disappear. He just watched and waited in the void. In the picture scroll world. After the stellar transposition, Riverward's spiritual sense arrived in front of a palace shining with purple light. This palace was located at the top of an endless mountain. It was incomparably majestic. Looking carefully, he saw that everything was shrouded in clouds and mist. It looked blurry. With just a glance, he could feel a strong pressure. What is this place? My spiritual consciousness was forcefully pulled in. Jiang Xi felt more and more mysterious with his state of mind cultivation and the strength of his primordial spirit. Even an eternal supreme could not pull his spiritual consciousness out of his body silently. Just now, I seem to have used the panel to deduce some patterns. He thought of this again. It seemed that those patterns were like the key to opening the picture scroll. Once comprehended, he could enter the picture scroll world. Come in, come in. Suddenly, there was a series of calls from the purple light palace. This voice made Jiang Xi, who was still in deep thought, instantly fall into a muddle-headed state. He unconsciously walked toward the door of the hall and into the depths of the hall. Jiang Xi suddenly woke up and immediately looked around. I'm in the hall. Without any warning, he directly controlled me. The gap is too big. Fortunately, there was no danger to his life behind the verdant cloud brothel. Otherwise, he would really be at the mercy of others. Jiang Xi calmed down and carefully observed his surroundings. He saw that this was an extremely gorgeous hall. Stone pillars with mysterious patterns stood in the hall. There were also a lot of decorations on the distant walls. And all of this emitted a powerful pressure. Jiang Xi wanted to see clearly, but he couldn't see anything clearly. He couldn't even see the ground under his feet. Boom! The entire hall shook violently. Jiang Xi immediately turned his head and saw a small beast appear out of thin air behind him. The small beast's body was covered in black scales. Its appearance was similar to a lion. There was a purple horn on its forehead. Its eyes were glowing with purple light. When it walked in the hall, the entire hall seemed to tremble. You are? Jiang Xi took the initiative to ask. I'm that mystic art you're looking for, the small beast said smugly. You're the mystic art? Jiang Xi was surprised. Even supreme treasures have spirits. Why can't mystic arts have spirits? The small beast started laughing. Mystic art spirit. Jiang Xi was instantly pleasantly surprised in his heart. If it were other powerhouses, they probably wouldn't understand the value of a mystic art spirit. But he had the Divine King level 8 Cloud's inheritance. He naturally knew this. Only Chaos Essence Divine King level super powerhouses had the strength to refine their absolute art into a mystic art spirit and pass it down. Mystic arts having spirits would choose a truly suitable master. If other powerhouses attempted to rely on powerful strength to forcefully seize the mystic art spirit, they would only fail in the end. Back then, the 8 Clouds lineage's founding ancestor, 8 Clouds Divine King, had also refined 2 great absolute arts, 8 Lives and Cloud Annihilation, into mystic art spirits. But in that battle where 8 Clouds Divine King fell, the 2 great mystic art spirits were also destroyed. And in the subsequent generations of 8 Clouds, none of them reached the Divine King level again. Therefore, this divine king-level inheritance didn't have a mystic art spirit. What kind of mystic art is it that it specially created a mystic art spirit? Jiang Xi guessed in his heart. He knew that the reward on the 8th level was probably not inferior to the 8 elemental Dao arts and Thousand Hearts sword technique. Its value might even be higher. At this moment, the small beast said again, since you can enter the scroll world, you must have some foundation. But whether you can obtain this mystic art will depend on your strength. Look carefully. With that said, the small beast's horn shot out 4 rays of light. Whoosh 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 whoosh. The 4 rays of light landed in 4 different directions of the hall. Suddenly, huge scrolls appeared on the 4 walls of the hall at the same time. The scrolls fell and revealed countless words. Only 3 of the scrolls had words that couldn't be read clearly. Only one scroll, which was the scroll that blocked the hall's door, had words that could be read clearly by Jiang Xi. There are 4 scrolls. The small beast continued, the only one you can see clearly is the entire mystic arts Daoyin method. Daoyin method? Jiang Xi nodded. He knew this. Usually, only super experts at the primordial chaos realm would use the Daoyin method to select their inheritors when they left behind their legacies. However, this method of selection was very strict. Over a long period of time, one might not necessarily find a suitable inheritor. For example, the 8 Clouds legacy was different. It had been passed down for many generations and 8 Clouds' divine king had already fallen. The difficulty of the selection was much lower and it was easier to select an inheritor. It seems like this mystic art was left behind by His Majesty Divine King from the dream origin world. Jiang Xi came to a conclusion. Otherwise, he wouldn't use the Daoyin method to select an inheritor. Then the test on the 8th level of the Verdant Cloud Brothel is to master the Daoyin method and obtain the complete mystic art. It was no wonder that this was the most difficult level. This was because it was a two-way choice. It wasn't something that could be learned just because one wanted to. Jiang Xi raised his head and looked at the huge scroll floating above the hall door. The small beast beside him also said, this Daoyin method has very strict requirements. It's best if the cultivator's cultivation is at the Dao Lord level. At most, it can't exceed the Heavenly Venerable level. Otherwise, there's no chance of success. Jiang Xi nodded. He had no problem with this. Although his body and essence spirit were already at the limit of a Heavenly Venerable, his cultivation was still at the universe realm. Then, he continued to focus on the Daoyin scroll. He instantly memorized the countless primordial realm words on it. Daoyin. Jiang Xi began to organize his thoughts and comprehend it properly. As long as he could record this Daoyin method into his experience points panel, regardless of whether he was a suitable inheritor or not, he could forcibly level up and obtain the complete mystic art. This Daoyin method has very high requirements. The small beast was still talking. Ever since I was created by Master, there have been countless peerless geniuses who tried to obtain it. However, none of them succeeded. Jiang Xi glanced at it. Countless geniuses. There shouldn't be many who could make it to the 8th level of the Verdant Cloud Brothel, right? It seemed like the Dream Origin world was really just a military camp for the Divine King to cultivate elites. The small beast should have followed the Divine King and lived in the upper realm. Otherwise, it wouldn't have come into contact with so many peerless geniuses. As for you, I don't think you stand a chance. You'll fail. The small beast glanced at Jiang Xi proudly. Chapter 681. The spirit of the secret technique in the form of a little beast was certain that Jiang Xi would fail. Fail? Jiang Xi ignored the little beast and began to sort out the contents of the guide scroll. He pondered over every detail and soon understood the detailed steps of cultivation. Then, he began to try to cultivate. This scene surprised the little beast. He's straightforward. He's going to cultivate directly. However, He'll probably fail. The little beast shook its head and then lay down in the main hall, waiting by the side. It was waiting for Jiang Xi to fail and then send Jiang Xi out. The moment riverward cultivated, he fell into a special state. His main body and avatar were immersed in it and began to cultivate involuntarily. Universe 4, Milky Way Galaxy, Earth. Now, Jiang Xi's avatar was stationed on Earth, and the entire Milky Way Galaxy had become one of the holy lands of the human race. It was called the Milky Way Holy Land. Usually, there were many perfected lords and tribulation transcenders stationed all over the Milky Way Holy Land. Earth was even more prosperous. Whoosh! At this moment, a powerful mental impact spread from Earth instantly. It spread to the entire solar system at an unstoppable speed and then continued to spread to the entire Milky Way Holy Land. All life, whether ordinary people or ordinary beasts, tribulation transcenders or perfected lords, were swept by this mental impact and fell into a coma. Fortunately, this mental impact did not contain any offensive power. Otherwise, these life forms would have all died in an instant. Retreat. Quick. Retreat from the Milky Way Holy Land. At the periphery of the Milky Way Holy Land, those powerhouses who had not been affected immediately took the teleportation array and left the Milky Way Holy Land. In the end, the powerful mental impact, with some faint white light, completely covered the entire Milky Way Holy Land. Some of the higher-ups of the human race and some of the Tao lords in the human camp also came to the edge of the Milky Way Holy Land. What's going on? What's wrong with Lord Mountain Sea's avatar? What kind of terrifying means is this? It's not like the suppression of the primordial spirit, but the pressure it brings is so strong that even the Tao lords can't withstand it. I'm standing at the edge and I feel shocked. One by one, the Tao lords stood in the starry sky and looked at the Milky Way Holy Land shrouded in a layer of white light. They didn't know what had happened, but they were all guessing. Perhaps Jiang Xi had encountered an opportunity in the dream origin realm and obtained a powerful secret method. Now he was cultivating it, which led to this situation. Wang! Two figures appeared one after another, emitting powerful pressure. They were Venerable Ming and Heavenly Venerable Nine Firmament. Now that more than 300,000 years had passed, Tao Lord Nine Firmaments had already become a celestial lord with the various legacies that Jiang Xi had brought over. Greetings to you, Empyrean Bright Sun, Empyrean High Firmaments. The Tao lords all bowed respectfully. Pass down the order. Celestial Master Ninth Firmament ordered, seal off the entire Milky Way sacred land. Do not allow any living beings to enter. Do not spread any news about this place. Yes. Instantly, 10 Tao lords accepted the order and immediately went to make the arrangements. Both Venerable Ming and Heavenly Venerable Nine Firmaments were staring at the Milky Way Holy Land, which was shrouded in white light. They were secretly communicating with each other. What technique is this? It doesn't seem like a secret method or the power of the primordial spirit. Venerable Ming asked through voice transmission. Jiang Xi told me that he obtained a spiritual attack technique some time ago. Perhaps this is a spiritual attack. Celestial Master Ninth Firmament replied through voice transmission, but his tone was filled with worry. Now, he didn't know what Jiang Xi was experiencing or if he was in danger. Dream Origin Realm, 8th floor of Verdant Cloud Inn, in the Void World. Jiang Xi stood on the small piece of land, motionless. His body was covered in spots of white light, and his entire body seemed to be emitting spiritual attacks. The spots of white light transformed into tiny patterns that fused into his body and primordial spirit, as though they were imprinting themselves. This was a test that came from the inside out. It was the most fundamental test. And in this test, Jiang Xi's spiritual power naturally fused with his body and primordial spirit. Under normal circumstances, the spiritual power of an expert was like rootless duckweed. Once they died, even if their body wasn't destroyed, the spiritual power would dissipate. And Jiang Xi's spiritual power was now fusing with his body and primordial spirit. This way, his spiritual power would have a root. Only then would he be able to unleash a spiritual attack. This was the prerequisite for cultivating the Thousand Hearts Sword technique and all other spiritual attack techniques. And after completing this step, even if the expert died, a drop of blood, a strand of hair, a piece of skin, or an illusory consciousness left behind would contain a powerful spiritual attack. This process was very slow, and it took nearly 1,000 years. Originally, the surface of Jiang Xi's body was flickering with spots of white light. But suddenly, it turned blue. Boom! Universe 4, Milky Way Sacred Land. The spiritual attack emitted by Jiang Xi's clone increased explosively again. The expressions of the Tao Lords guarding the borders of the Milky Way Sacred Land changed drastically. What's going on? The pressure is getting stronger again. Even though they were very far away, they could feel a pressure that came from the depths of their souls. Only some Tao Lords with high cultivation could withstand it. The other ordinary Tao Lords could only struggle to resist or retreat far away. In the void on the 8th floor of the verdant cloud building, the blurry figure was still looking at Jiang Xi, who was standing on land. He has entered the second stage. The blurry figure trembled, and his hazy eyes seemed to be filled with excitement. When I was in the upper realm, the guiding scroll was spread out. Many geniuses from the various superpowers went in and tried it. However, those who enter the second stage are few and far between, extremely few. Then in this lower realm, only he can enter the second stage. Could it be, no matter what, you must succeed? The blurry figure was also looking forward to it. In the word scroll world, Little Beast, who was lying there, also looked up at Jiang Xi in shock. He actually entered the second stage. There are a total of 3 stages in the guiding technique, and he can actually enter the second stage. Since I was born, countless geniuses from the superpowers have come in and tried it. Some of those geniuses have obtained extremely precious inheritances, and some have been endlessly nurtured from the beginning, but the number of peerless geniuses who can withstand it and enter the second stage is less than 50. What's the background of this kid? Time passed day by day. Jiang Xi had no idea how big of a commotion he had caused. Pain. Torture. Purgatory. This was what Jiang Xi was feeling now. He had finished reading the guiding scroll and knew that there were a total of 3 stages in the cultivation of the guiding technique. The first stage was still okay and easy. But from the second stage onwards, his body and primordial spirit would be subjected to cruel treatment. The fine patterns formed by the power of the soul were like countless thin needles piercing through his body and primordial spirit. At the same time, they were like countless scorching marks. This was an unprecedented pain. It was also the first time he had experienced it since he started cultivating. Could it be that there's a danger of dying while cultivating the guiding technique? Jiang Xi was a little worried. But now that he had entered a special state of cultivation, he could not retreat. He could only complete the cultivation. He looked at the experience panel. Heart Origin Meridian, Guiding Technique, Second Stage, 1 yuan, 50,000 yuan. This was the information that was recorded on the panel after he started cultivating the guiding technique. Obviously, after completing the energy channeling technique, he would be able to draw out a powerful technique called the Heart Origin Sutra. The guiding technique of the Heart Origin Meridian had a total of 3 stages, which were 3 realms. The first stage required 30,000 eternal experience points. It took him nearly 1,000 years to fill up the registration experience for the first level before he reached the second level. For me, with the interface, cultivating the Daoyin method shouldn't be difficult, Riverward thought to himself. He had obtained 360,000 eternal experience points on the 4th floor of the Verdant Cloud Brothel, so there was no problem in terms of experience points now. The most difficult thing is to resist the pain of the spiritual mark. Jiang Xi only felt that every inch of his body and primordial spirit was trembling. Intense pain. Chapter 682. In the Purple Hall, Jiang Xi was completely immersed in the cultivation of the guide scroll. His entire body was enveloped by blue light. I've already entered the second stage. The little beast was looking forward to it. As long as I can enter the third stage, it'll be fine. Over the countless years, no inheritor has been able to enter the third stage. Kid, work hard. You must enter the third stage. Once you enter the third stage, failure means death. But if you succeed, no matter how bad you are in the future, only those peerless godly kings will be able to suppress you. The little beast was looking forward to it. The fate of its existence was to find a suitable inheritor. Once it found it, the spirit of the secret art would dissipate. But it did not care. From the day it was born, what it pursued was the moment of brilliance when it recognized a master. Universe 4, Milky Way Holy Land. The huge galaxy was enveloped by blue light. Just like that, nearly 2,000 years passed. Buzz! All of the blue light turned into countless specks of purple light. And these purple lights seemed to be connected to each other, forming an incomparably vast, mysterious pattern. Boom! The spread of the spiritual impact increased again. Not good. The Tao Lords who had been guarding the edge of the Milky Way Holy Land instantly fainted. Only 2 Universe Tao Lords were still conscious. Even if they were not covered by the light, they could not withstand the spiritual impact. Soon, the human camp was in an uproar. Tao Lord Mountain Sea's mysterious attack, which did not distinguish between friend and foe, caused 38 of the 40 Tao Lords guarding the edge of the Milky Way Holy Land to faint. This shocked all the experts in the human camp. This was only a scattered attack. If it was concentrated on the enemy, how terrifying would it be? Heavenly Sovereign Ninth Firmament ordered again, do not spread any information. Otherwise, it will be considered a crime of defecting to the enemy. Last time, when the Milky Way Holy Land was enveloped by the white light, he had ordered to seal everything. This time, his order was even stricter. Jiang Xi, no matter what, you have to come back alive. Heavenly Sovereign Ninth Firmament looked at the Milky Way Holy Land covered in purple light and thought to himself he knew very well that how could such a heaven-defying method be so easy to obtain. Just by looking at how Jiang Xi was completely cut off from the outside world, it was obvious that Jiang Xi was very likely in terrible danger. Dream Origin Realm, in the void world on the 8th floor of Verdant Cloud Building. Jiang Xi was shrouded in purple light spots. His body and primordial spirit were imprinted with large amounts of purple patterns at every moment. Boom! Waves of powerful mental attacks spread out in all directions. The third stage. Since the creation of the guide scroll, no one has ever entered the third stage. It's him. It must be him. I've been waiting for this moment for so long. The blurry figure in the void was trembling with excitement and nervousness. I can't fail. This is the last stage. I can't fail. In the world of the text scroll. The little beast also looked nervously at Jiang Xi. It could tell that this Tao Lord expert was also experiencing a terrifying nightmare. This is a test of the soul. If you want to cultivate this unprecedented soul art, which is said to be the strongest attack in the myriad heavens, you will have to pay the price. Your mind, body, and primordial spirit must meet the requirements. If you can't reach the bottom line, you can only die. Brat, hold on. You have to hold on. As long as you can hold on, you will enter a brand new world. Time passed. Heart Origin Sutra, Daoyin, Level 3, 1 yuan/100, 000 yuan, Jiang Xi was using the interface to continuously increase the level of the Daoyin method. This was not difficult for him at all. The most difficult thing was the increasing pain. After entering the third stage, with the imprint of the soul force, it was as if his body and primordial spirit were being crushed inch by inch and then crushed into powder. Pain. However, every time he felt that he could not hold on, an inexplicable force would emerge from the depths of his body and primordial spirit, which was also his mental world, causing his body and primordial spirit to transform. Could it be that I'm naturally suitable for this secret technique called the Heart Origin Sutra? This thought appeared in Jiang Xi's mind while he was in extreme pain. This made him feel that even without the experience interface, he could still last until the third stage and complete the entire Daoyin method cultivation. Next, as the cultivation of the third stage increased, Jiang Xi began to gradually adapt to the pain of his body and primordial spirit being crushed and became more comfortable. This feels great. Jiang Xi actually liked the feeling of cultivating the third stage. Soon, 5,000 years passed. Phew. In the main hall, Jiang Xi stood in front of the Daoyin scroll. Suddenly, he opened his eyes with a smile on his face and felt extremely relaxed. Beside him, the little beast was no longer lying there. It moved its face closer to Jiang Xi. Spirit of the secret technique, what are you? Jiang Xi took 2 steps back. The little beast did not speak immediately. Instead, it stared at Jiang Xi carefully. Finally, it muttered, I'm trying to see who you are. Where did you come from? You actually succeeded. However, congratulations. You are qualified to cultivate this secret technique created by my master. The little beast shook its head proudly. Who is your master? Jiang Xi asked. His intuition told him that the godly king of the dream origin world was not this little beast's master. This was because the cultivation of the Daoyin scroll was already so abnormal. The secret technique after the Daoyin scroll should be even stronger than the godly king level 8 lives and cloud extinguisher. In other words, it was not even a godly king level secret technique. It was 1 level higher. Listen carefully. Although my master does not know you, the little beast said, you have learned his secret technique. Remember my master's name. My master, Yuan, is the most powerful existence in this universe. Yuan? Jiang Xi's eyes widened. He could not maintain his composure. What's with that look? The little beast stared back. Nothing. I just feel that the name is very noble. Jiang Xi regained his composure. You have good eyesight, the little beast smiled proudly. All right, you have cultivated the Daoyin scroll and met the requirements. Naturally, you are qualified to learn this noble secret technique created by my master. It is said to be the strongest attack technique in this universe. After living for so long, I can finally return to the secret technique. Hua! Instantly, the little beast turned into specks of starlight and surged into Jiang Xi's consciousness. Then, a huge amount of information appeared. In the void on the 8th floor of the verdant cloud building. The blurry figure had been waiting anxiously for 5,000 years until the light that enveloped Jiang Xi dissipated. Especially the star runes that were originally revolving around the void. They surged towards Jiang Xi crazily. Success! The blurry figure heaved a sigh of relief. He stared at Jiang Xi's figure and muttered, is it him? It should be him, right? Chapter 683. In the distance, Jiang Xi was the only one standing quietly on the floating land. After a long time, he slowly opened his eyes. I've passed the 8th level. Jiang Xi looked around. The astral text in the void had disappeared. He knew that the mystic technique represented by the astral text had integrated into his body. Yuan? It's actually Yuan. The shock in Jiang Xi's heart did not disappear. Who else could use this name? It was naturally the Emperor Lord of the Primordial Realm who had once embarked on the final path. As the Emperor Lord of the Primordial Realm failed at the final step, the Primordial Realm was occupied by its old rival, the Astral Realm. The Primordial Realm's Chaos Sea also plummeted. Dream Origin Realm. No wonder it's called Dream Origin Realm. Jiang Xi finally sighed. I actually obtained his inheritance. Then, he began to recall the information about the mystic technique he had just obtained. When he began cultivating the Tao Yin art, he already knew the name of this mystic technique. Heart Origin Sutra. The seemingly ordinary name was a true super technique of the myriad worlds. Soul attack techniques were extremely rare, and the Heart Origin Sutra was one of the strongest. What was the myriad worlds? The primordial realm and the astral realm were just two of them. There were many other massive worlds similar to these two. Of course, the primordial realm and the astral realm were also among the top existences in the myriad worlds. In fact, when the Emperor Lord of the primordial realm was still around, the primordial realm could even be ranked in the top 10. If the Emperor Lord of the primordial realm had not failed at the final step, perhaps the primordial realm would have had a chance to rush to the top. Jiang Xi shook his head and carefully checked the Heart Origin Sutra he had just obtained. The Thousand Hearts Sword technique, a soul attack technique he had obtained on the 7th level, could be cultivated at the eternal supremacy level of mental state. However, the Heart Origin Sutra could only be cultivated at the Chaos Essence Divine General level of mental state. From this, it could be seen how powerful this soul attack technique was. To be precise, the Thousand Hearts Sword technique was a powerful soul attack technique. It was extremely useful for Eternal Supremacies and Chaos Essence Divine Generals. However, the Heart Origin Sutra was an existence that could drive a Chaos Essence Divine King crazy. Even Chaos Essence Divine rulers of a higher level would fight for it. This was because spiritual attacks were invisible and formless. If one's mental state cultivation was not high enough, they would not be able to resist a mental attack at all. The ultimate technique of the primordial realm's Empyrean Lord is actually hidden on the 8th floor of the Verdant Cloud Brothel, who is the immortal king in the Dream Origin realm. What's hidden on the 9th floor? Jiang Xi thought to himself. Red. A ray of light descended from the void and enveloped Jiang Xi. His figure disappeared from the 8th level. Reaching the top of the 9th stratum meant that he had succeeded. He would then complete the Elite Tao Lord mission and become the only Elite Tao Lord. Jiang Xi appeared in a quiet square courtyard. There were ancient carvings on the courtyard walls. It was the unique style of the primordial realm's civilization. This is the 9th floor of the Verdant Cloud Brothel. There was nothing special about it. But the more it was like this, the more mysterious it seemed. Come in. A voice came from the quiet residence ahead. Jiang Xi's body stiffened. His face was full of shock and disbelief. With his mental state cultivation, it was almost impossible for anything to make him so shocked. Even when he heard the name, Yuan, he could quickly regain his composure. But at this moment, this voice made him unable to maintain his composure. His mind was greatly moved. The shock on his face did not subside for a long time. Because it was very familiar. What are you waiting for? The voice sounded again. Jiang Xi took a deep breath and calmed himself down. He walked forward along the ancient stone path. Even though each of the ancient stone slabs was engraved with complicated mystic art patterns, he was not in the mood to observe and deduce them. Soon, he turned a corner and came to the depths of the square courtyard. It was a courtyard. An unknown ancient tree stood in the corner of the courtyard. There was an exquisite round table and 2 chairs under the tree. One person sat on the chair while the other stood beside him like a guard. Jiang Xi stood at the entrance of the courtyard in a daze. He looked at the 2 people under the tree in a daze. They were indeed humans, not life forms of other races. Even though he had the mental state cultivation of an eternal supreme, he still found it hard to believe. It was like a dream. Daodu? Senior Qingshi. The figure sitting there was wearing a gorgeous palace dress. She seemed to be the most beautiful woman in the world, the focus of everything. The figure standing there was wearing a long green robe. His face was full of vicissitudes. There were knife and sword scars, as if he had experienced many great battles. You are not him. Suddenly, the woman in the palace dress sighed and shook her head. You are not her. Jiang Xi also spoke. At first glance, the woman in the palace dress was indeed no different from Jiang Dudu. But their temperaments were obviously different. Jiang Dudu was more lively and quick-witted, while the woman in the palace dress in front of him gave off a sacred, serious, and inviolable feeling. As for the green-robed figure next to her, although he looked the same as Heavenly Venerable Qing Shi gave off a barbaric feeling. This green-robed figure, on the other hand, had a fierce murderous aura. Moreover, Jiang Xi felt that this green-robed figure seemed to be the blurry figure he saw at the end of the fourth level's path. Who are you? Jiang Xi took the initiative to ask again. My master is Great Dream Godly Monarch, the founder of the Dream Origin World. The green-robed figure said, and I am Divine General Qing Shi. From the looks of it, you have already seen the two faces that look like us. I believe you have many questions, right? Great Dream Godly Monarch said. Jiang Xi took a deep breath and nodded. He did not have the fear he should have when facing godly monarchs and godly generals. He was most familiar with these two faces, so it was naturally impossible for him to feel such reverence. However, he did have questions, deep questions. Jiang Dudu and he had depended on each other since young. Their lives were long intertwined. Although Jiang Dudu had always been in slumber in Heavenly Venerable Qing Shi's space, he would visit her nearly every year. As for Heavenly Venerable Qing Shi, he was a guide on his cultivation path. He could also be considered one of his masters. Now that there were two people who looked exactly like them, how could he not be puzzled? Do you know of samsara? Great Dream Godly Monarch asked. Among the 8 great Tao Dharma in the primordial realm's chaos sea, there is the samsara Tao Dharma, answered Jiang Xi. But since ancient times, no life form has ever successfully reincarnated. Under the calamity, all non-eternal life forms will be annihilated unless they rely on eternity. That's because the samsara Tao Dharma in the primordial realm's chaos sea was created by me, said Great Dream Godly Monarch calmly. This. Jiang Xi was alarmed. Back then, my godly monarch Bodhimanda was called the Great Dream Bodhimanda. Some experts also called it the Samsara Bodhimanda. And now, the fourth universe in the Chaos Sea is a universe that I opened using the Samsara Tao Dharma, added Great Dream Godly Monarch. You banned the Chaos Sea Samsara? Pressed Jiang Xi. That's right. Great Dream Godly Monarch nodded. Then why? You. Jiang Xi glanced at her before looking at Divine General Qing Shi. He already had an answer in his heart. Chapter 684. In the courtyard on the 9th floor of Qingyun Brothel. Jiang Xi was puzzled. He wanted to know if the two familiar faces in front of him had really reincarnated. Great Dream God Monarch's gaze was deep. She did not directly answer Jiang Xi's question. Instead, she sighed softly. Due to the appearance of the traitor and the sudden invasion of the astral realm, our primordial realm army was defeated at the end. The danger at the end of the path almost caused the entire army to perish. In the end, it was the Emperor Lord's heart origin power that protected our remnant souls. The content contained in this sentence did not cause any surprise to Riverward. When he first received 8 Clouds' inheritance, 8 Clouds' divine general had mentioned the end of the path. At that time, Jiang Xi was naturally puzzled about what the end of the path was. However, due to the restrictions of Chaos Sea's heaven-earth laws, 8 Clouds' divine general could not tell him. Ever since he entered the Dream Origin realm, he could see the complete 8 Clouds' inheritance without the restrictions of Chaos Sea's heaven-earth laws. From the inheritance, he knew what the end of the path was. To be precise, it was a path of transcendence. Above Chaos Sea, there was the Eternal Realm, followed by Chaos Essence Divine General, Godly Monarch, and Ruler. For example, 8 Clouds Divine King and Great Dream God Monarch were Chaos Essence Divine Kings. The Emperor Lord of the Primordial Realm and the Lord of the Astral Realm were Chaos Essence Rulers. And to go one level higher, one had to transcend. However, since ancient times, there had only been one path of transcendence. It was obtained by the Emperor Lord of the Primordial Realm. He led the Primordial Realm army and embarked on that path to transcend. He wanted to bring his capable subordinates to transcend together. Unfortunately, due to the betrayal and the sudden attack of the Lord of the Astral Realm, they ultimately failed. At that moment, Heavenly General Bluestone said, "The Emperor Lord exhausted his heart origin and disappeared at the end of the path. The remnant soul of my master, Great Dream God Monarch, brought us deep into the myriad world ruins and opened up the dream origin realm there. With that as a foundation, we recuperated and waited for the return of the undead warriors." "Then, you went to reincarnate?" Jiang Xi sighed. The answer was obvious. A Chaos Essence Divine King level expert was incomparably powerful. Even if it was a wisp of remnant spirit, it could still change heaven and earth. To be precise, I'm the one who's going to reincarnate. Great Dream God Monarch nodded. After I defined the rules of reincarnation for Meng Yuan, the last remnant soul used the Tao of reincarnation to continuously reincarnate in the 4th universe that I created. What about Senior Qingshi? Jiang Xi looked at Divine General Qingshi. I haven't reincarnated. The me you see is the real me. Immortal General Qingshi said, the current me is just an illusory consciousness that I left in Dream Origin Realm. Bluestone has always been in Universe 4, guarding my samsara body. I don't know how many eons he has passed, said Great Dream with a sigh. As for me, I'm now just an illusory consciousness. Jiang Xi was silent. He still had many questions in his heart, but he didn't know where to start. Or rather, he didn't dare to ask. Finally, he asked Great Dream God Monarch, then why do you want to reincarnate? Who am I? In order to find someone in the endless cycles of reincarnation. Emperor Yuan. That's right. The final path contains the ultimate secrets of transcendence. Although we didn't rush to the end back then, we were extremely close. We even bathed in the final transcendence powers. Under such powers, even if we are left with a remnant soul, we won't completely perish. Therefore, when you said that Emperor Yuan exhausted his heart essence and vanished at the final path, he might not have truly vanished. Emperor Yuan obtained the most transcendence powers on the final path. I don't believe that he would vanish. Furthermore, the heart essence power he cultivates in is an existence that is closest to the transcendence powers. It contains great opportunities. Reincarnation is a piece of cake for him. Who am I? Asked Jiang Xi again. Great Dream God Monarch fell silent. After a long while, he slowly sighed. From the moment you entered Dream Origin Realm, I sensed a familiar aura. I thought you were him, but unfortunately, you aren't. I'm afraid even my samsara body isn't me. Why? Jiang Xi frowned. He was eager to know the relationship between the two. Without transcendence, one can't escape the omnipresent heaven-earth confinement. The samsara Tao art is a law that borders on cheating. It will attract the punishment of the heaven-earth confinement. Therefore, I banned samsara back then, said Great Dream God Monarch heaven-earth confinement. Jiang Xi realized that this was likely a strengthened version of the Chaos Sea's heaven-earth law. It was even more domineering. And the transcendence path was to escape and break the heaven-earth confinement. Is there a problem with samsara? Asked Jiang Xi. Yes, I can sense that the heaven-earth confinement has wiped away my and Emperor Yuan's origins consciousness. Even if the remnant soul samsara succeeds, it will only be an unconscious essence soul origins undergoing samsara, said Great Dream God Monarch with a sigh. Therefore, you can rest assured that you aren't him. The familiar face you saw isn't me either, she added. Jiang Xi heaved a sigh of relief. He was Jiang Xi. Jiang Dudu was Jiang Dudu. The two of them definitely couldn't be anyone else. Then why did the dream origin realm suddenly appear in the myriad world ruins? Is this the first time it has appeared? Asked Jiang Xi again. It's the first time. Great Dream God Monarch nodded. Then, she explained, the myriad world ruins is the most mysterious and dangerous place in the myriad worlds. It is said that it will bury the myriad worlds one day. This is not empty talk. The Emperor Yuan has done many things in his life that made experts tremble in fear. One of them was moving the myriad world ruins into the primordial realm's chaos sea. Although it was risky, from then on, no world dared to covet the primordial realm. If we had not embarked on the final path, the Lord of the Astral Realm would not have dared to attack the primordial realm. Great Dream God Monarch first explained the origin of the myriad world ruins. Jiang Xi listened attentively. After we were defeated at the final path, I led the remnant army into the myriad world ruins to avoid the pursuit of the Lord of the Astral Realm, added Great Dream God Monarch. Then, with the Great Dream Dojo as the foundation, I opened up the Dream Origin Realm and let the remnant spirits reincarnate here. The Dream Origin Realm had always been lurking in the myriad world ruins. However, more than 300,000 years ago, a divine general of the astral realm went deep into the myriad world ruins and broke into this world. Hearing this, Jiang Xi's heart skipped a beat. He thought of the previous race war in the fourth universe. At that time, Juntian's sacred ground, Red Lotus' sacred ground, and many other races in the fourth universe such as the demon race and ghost race, they joined forces and launched a war to destroy the human race. In the end, they were defeated by him. After that, Heavenly Venerable Qing Shi told him that an expert from the upper realm had come. However, after the war ended, Jiang Xi wandered in the Chaos Sea for many years and had never met an expert from the upper realm. He did not expect the other party to go deep into the myriad world ruins and open the Dream Origin Realm. Is that divine general of the astral realm dead? Asked Jiang Xi. He knew that there were several divine generals in the Dream Origin Realm. It should be easy to kill a divine general of the astral realm, right? Chapter 685. Great Dream God King seemed to know what Jiang Xi was thinking. She shook her head and said, after Dream Origin Sector was created, many remnant spirits reincarnated here. Some of them were Eternal Supremes and Chaos Origin Divine Generals. After a long period of time, they became Eternal Supremes or Chaos Origin Divine Generals again. However, as Dream Origin Sector isn't a Chaos world, it can't support Eternal Universe and Chaos Origin Universe. Therefore, the Eternal Supremes and Chaos Origin Divine Generals in Dream Origin Sector are much weaker than normal. They aren't a match for the Divine General from Star Sector. Jiang Xi nodded. It was the same logic as the strong ones in Chaos Ocean Holy Land. At the same level, the Celestial Venerables of the Holy Land didn't have miniature universes. Their strength was inferior to the Celestial Venerables of the four original universes. Take a look. Great Dream God King waved her hand. A screen of light appeared in the courtyard, showing a world of gray and misty. Boundless chaotic gray fog was binding a figure like a chain. The figure was struggling but couldn't break free. I used Dream Origin Sector's world origin to suppress him, said Great Dream God King. This person is called Thousand Illusions Divine General. Divine General Qing Shi said, back when Primordial Sector was at its peak, he crossed two large worlds from Star Sector to Primordial Sector to cultivate. Back then, he was still very weak. I didn't expect his strength to be close to Chaos Origin Divine King. Even I am no match for him. Jiang Xi's heart sank. In Chaos Ocean, a Divine General was already crazy enough. Now, he was close to Chaos Origin Divine King. Although Chaos Ocean's heaven and earth laws limited one to celestial venerables as long as the level was different, even if both parties were celestial venerables, the one with the higher level would have a higher chance of winning. Mountain Sea, said Great Dream God King. You can call me Jiang Xi. Jiang Xi. Great Dream God King nodded. We need you to eliminate him. Dream Origin Sector's world origin can't suppress him for long. Me? Jiang Xi was shocked. He wasn't even a celestial venerable. Great Dream God Monarch said with a solemn expression, don't be surprised. You have obtained the Monarch's Heart Origin Sutra. In addition to the things in your mind, you will soon be able to grasp the Monarch's Heart Origin force. Jiang Xi's expression changed. This was the first time someone had seen the EXP panel in his mind. Don't worry, we won't hurt you. Great Dream added, in fact, the thing in your mind might have been obtained by Empyrean Lord at the end of his path. That is why it appeared in your body. Jiang Xi was indeed not worried that Great Dream God King would harm him. Because he was a familiar face, it was hard for him to be on guard against Great Dream God King. Are you so sure that after I cultivate Heart Origin energy, I can defeat Illusion Divine General Qian? Riverward took the initiative to ask. The power of Heart Essence is an existence that is closest to a transcendent power in the myriad worlds. Even the Chaos Sea's worldly laws are unable to restrain it. Just this point alone is enough, said Great Dream with a smile. This is also the reason why the Celestial Emperor chose to conquer the primordial realm's Chaos Sea. In the Chaos Sea, only the Chaos Lord was not restricted by the Chaos Sea. Any other expert could only produce peak heavenly venerate strength. As for the Empyrean Lord's Heart Origin energy, it can construct a special domain that allows us to produce our original strength. Jiang Xi nodded seriously as he listened. He understood the logic behind this. If they encountered a sneak attack on the Chaos Sea's final path, they did not need to worry too much as long as the other party was not a primordial Chaos Lord. Unfortunately, the one who sneak attacked them was the Lord of the Astral Realm, an existence at the primordial Chaos Lord level. If your Heart Origin energy can be cultivated to the Eternal Realm, I will release Illusion Divine General Qian back into the Chaos Sea. Then, you can use your Heart Origin energy to destroy him, added Great Dream. Upon hearing this, Jiang Xi already understood Great Dream God King's plan. The Chaos Sea only allowed peak heavenly venerate combat strength, but Heart Origin energy was not restricted by this. When the time came, Illusion Divine General Qian, who could only produce peak heavenly venerate strength, would not be his match. Of course, the premise was that he had to cultivate his Heart Origin energy to the Eternal Realm. I need a lot of eternal fragments. Jiang Xi was very straightforward. He knew that the Dream Origin realm did not lack these. Great Dream God King laughed. Is this enough? She waved her hand again as the courtyard space on the 9th floor of Azure Cloud Brothel transformed into a void. There were countless shards of eternity piled up in piles. Each pile was like a star, lighting up the entire void. Although Jiang Xi was mentally prepared, he still felt stifled. How many were there? Back then, Empyrean Lord collected hundreds of millions of eternal fragments from the various worlds. They are all here, said Great Dream God King with a smile. At that moment, Jiang Xi wanted to ask what relationship Great Dream God King had with Empyrean Lord for him to hand over all his wealth to her. After some thought, he decided to ask the question. Great Dream God King smiled without a word. Beside her, Divine General Qingshi answered on her behalf. Empyrean Lord is my lord's husband. Jiang Xi nodded with a smile. It was no wonder. It was just like how he had handed his savings to Jiang Daodu in the past. From the looks of it, you and her are the same. Great Dream God King laughed as well. We have depended on each other since we were young. Our lives are connected. Jiang Xi had a serious expression. Great Dream God King revealed a look of reminiscence. Moments later, she said with a sigh, protect her well. She is the key to reopening the final path. The final path lies with Daodu. Jiang Xi was alarmed. No. Great Dream God King shook her head. Universe 4's Mountain Sea Star is the final path. Riverward was suddenly enlightened, and the many doubts in his heart were all answered. It was no wonder that when he first met Qing Shi, he heard Qing Shi mention that Earth used to be called Mountain Sea Star. Every calamity and chaos sea will destroy everything, but Mountain Sea Star will not be destroyed, said Great Dream God King. Jiang Xi nodded. It would be strange if it could be destroyed. After we were defeated at the final path, that path transformed into a primitive planet. I placed it in my godly monarch universe, which is Chaos Sea's Universe 4, said Great Dream God King. One day in the future, when you feel that you have the strength to step on the final path, you can open it. And the key to open it is with her. Jiang Xi kept these words in mind. At that moment, Great Dream God King added, "All right, I have told you everything that needs to be told. Put away these eternal fragments and you may leave. In addition, I will give you the authority to control the Dream Origin World's world origins." Great Dream God King added, "On the surface, your status is equivalent to the generals of the 4 armies, but in fact, your status is higher. You can use the world origins to easily suppress them. The 4 generals also know this. They will respect you." Upon hearing this, Jiang Xi immediately laughed. He never expected to become the person with the highest authority in the Dream Origin world after completing an elite sequence mission. Although Great Dream God King was sitting in front of him and Divine General Qing Shi was standing beside him, they were illusory existences. However, these two were illusory consciousnesses and did not have much strength. They might not even be able to leave the verdant cloud brothel. Chapter 686. The moment Jiang Xi left the verdant cloud brothel. In the Grey Palace, the 4 commanders were extremely excited. It's gone. The elite mission has disappeared. This means that Shanghai has reached the top of the verdant cloud brothel. The 4 commanders laughed loudly. Swoosh, the 4 of them arrived at the verdant cloud brothel at the same time and saw Jiang Xi walking out. "We're the 4 commanders of the Godly King Valley. We're under the orders of His Majesty the Godly King to protect the Godly King Valley." The Chaos Origin Divine General Level Blood Armor Commander smiled and said, "Shanhai, congratulations on reaching the top of the Verdant Cloud Brothel and becoming the first elite Dao Lord in the history of the Dream Origin realm. Shanhai, please come to the hall to talk," said the Black Mist Commander. Their tones were filled with respect. This was especially true for the 3 Eternal Supreme Commanders. From their body movements, one could tell that they were very respectful to Jiang Xi. Clearly, the 4 commanders also knew that Jiang Xi's current identity was very different. Although he was still a Dao Lord warrior, he could suppress them with a flip of his hand because he controlled the world's origin. Half a day later, Jiang Xi left the Godly King Valley under the warm escort of the 4 commanders. Looking at the vast Godly King continent and the endless ocean, Jiang Xi smiled. "It took me a year to come here, but it only took me an instant now." He did not need to hide anymore. With a thought, he disappeared from the sky above the Godly King continent. In the next moment, he appeared outside the White Flame Army's camp. He controlled the Dream Origin realm's origin, so he could naturally go anywhere at will. He could even kill living beings below the Eternal Supremes with a thought. He could easily suppress Eternal Supremes and Chaos Origin Divine Generals. This was also the reason why the 4 commanders were so respectful to him earlier. In the White Flame Army's camp, the Great Yen Army's lake. Jiang Xi flew leisurely above the lake and flew toward his island. "Look, it's Shanhai. He's Shanhai. I heard that the captain of your 3rd squad is also afraid of this recruit. I remember that he disappeared for 300,000 years. I thought he was dead. I didn't expect him to still be alive. On an island below, two warriors saw Jiang Xi's figure. The news of the Mountain Sea warriors returning to the Great Yen Legion's 4th Brigade's 3rd Squad spread like wildfire. Soon, the news spread throughout the entire 4th Battalion. A red-faced, 8-armed warrior of the 6th Squad widened his eyes when he heard the news. He's back. The 8 arms naturally belonged to the Tao Lord experts of the Great Heaven Holy Land of the Primordial Sea. His strength was not bad. After so many years of experience, he had also joined the Special Forces. Are we going to activate the killing trap? The 8-armed warrior was silent, feeling a formless pressure. At the same time, there was resentment in his heart. He had been in the Dream Origin realm for 300,000 years and had long fallen in love with this place. This place was much freer than the Great Sky Holy Land. He could even find a way to become an Empyrean here, a way to cultivate eternity, and not rely on primogenitor Great Sky Supreme. But he shouldered Jun Tian Supreme's orders and must deal with Jiang Xi. Let's begin. The 8-armed warrior sighed. His true body was still in the Great Sky Holy Land. His life and death were under the control of the sovereign. He could only obey orders. Soon enough, the 8-armed warrior flew toward the Great Yen Army's core encampment. This was a vast island, covered with fiery red forests. In the middle of the forest, there was a towering temple. There were teams of heavenly venerable guards at the entrance. The person who lived in this temple was the Great Yen Army's commander. Those who could serve as the commander of the special forces in the army were all Eternal Supremes. Moreover, they were relatively strong Eternal Supremes. Even if they were not Eternal Supremes, their strength was not much different. Stop! This is the commander's residence. Trespassing is prohibited. The heavenly venerable guards in front of the temple stopped the 8-armed warrior. I have something important to discuss with the commander. The 8-armed warrior hurriedly said. Warrior! A heavenly venerable guard shouted coldly, do you think you can see the commander just because you want to? Leave quickly. I really have something important to discuss with the commander, the 8-armed warrior said anxiously. The heavenly venerable guards exchanged glances and hesitated slightly. After all, the person who came to seek an audience was a warrior of the Great Yen Army. Let him in. A cold voice rang out. The heavenly venerable guards no longer stopped him. The 8-armed warrior heaved a sigh of relief. Inside the temple, a wicked-looking young man dressed in a fiery red robe sat high up in the great hall. Greetings, Commander. The 8-armed warrior saluted respectfully. What's so important to you? The Great Yen commander's sinister gaze fell on the 8-armed warrior. If you can't tell me what's so important to you, I'll punish you according to military law. Commander, I accidentally discovered a great secret, the 8-armed warrior said hurriedly. The warriors of the 4th Platoon's 3rd Platoon, the Mountain Sea Warriors, infiltrated from an outside force. An outside force? The Great Yen commander's killing intent surged. Every living being in the Dream Origin realm was absolutely loyal to the Dream Origin realm and hostile to the outside world. This was engraved in the depths of their souls. You're not lying to me? The Great Yen commander asked. I wouldn't dare to lie to you, Commander. Do you have proof? The 8-armed warrior was anxious. I saw it with my own eyes. The proof, you think I'm going to investigate that Mountain Sea just because you mentioned it? The Great Yen commander sneered. Stand down, and I'll forgive you this time. The 8-armed warrior gritted his teeth and said with a crazed expression, Commander, I'm certain that I saw it with my own eyes. If you summon Mountain Sea and cast an illusion spell, we'll know if it's true or not. Illusion spell? The Great Yen commander was impatient. It's not up to you to tell me what to do. Scram. Commander, I'm telling the truth. If we let him live, it'll be detrimental to the Dream Origin realm. The 8-armed warrior was slightly hysterical. If you don't believe me, Commander, I'm willing to prove it with my death. Boom! The 8-armed warrior self-detonated in the temple. His body and nascent divinity were destroyed. This scene shocked Great Yan's commander. Self-detonation. He's willing to die to prove his loyalty. I didn't expect this warrior to be so loyal. What a pity. He had seen many loyal warriors throughout his long life. However, this was the first time he had seen someone willing to die to prove his loyalty. Is it true that an outsider has infiltrated the Dream Origin realm? The Great Yen commander's sinister eyes gleamed. Swoosh! Then, he vanished into thin air. In the next moment, he appeared in the air above Jiang Xi's island. At this moment, Jiang Xi was fishing leisurely by the water. How leisurely! The Great Yen commander sneered. You're here. Come on down. Suddenly, a soft voice rang in his ears. HM. The Great Yen commander was shocked. Boom! Immediately after, a force from all directions pressed down on him, causing him to fall rapidly downwards, smashing directly into the water. However, the water was extremely hard. The Great Yen commander was disoriented from the fall. This shocked him. He was an eternal paragon. His body and nascent divinity were extremely powerful. How could he be suppressed with a wave of a hand? Moreover, he was like an ordinary being. He could not resist at all. Is this person really an outsider? The Great Yen commander hastily sent a message to the White Flame General. Chapter 687. The White Flame Legion. On an island in the Great Yen Legion's lake camp. Jiang Xi shook his head slightly. He felt slightly helpless. I've shot myself in the foot. After completing the elite mission, the 4 commanders had asked him if he wanted to make this news public. If he did, the 4 great armies would soon learn about it. They would treat him with utmost respect. At that time, Jiang Xi had refused. In his opinion, he would eventually leave the Dream Origin realm. There was no need for the 4 great armies to know about it. Currently, apart from the 4 commanders of the Godly King Valley, only the 4 great generals of the army knew about Jiang Xi's identity. Therefore, the Great Yen commander did not know about Jiang Xi's identity at all. When Jiang Xi saw the Great Yen commander's killing intent, he did not hold back. He used the Dream Origin realm's world origin to suppress the Great Yen commander. At this moment, the Great Yen commander was still in shock. How can this be? Could he be a Chaos Origin Divine General from the outside? Did he deliberately disguise himself as a Tao Lord? As long as he doesn't touch the general, nobody can see through his disguise. Such an expert must be up to something. The Great Yen commander immediately thought of this. Swoosh! Jiang Xi stepped up to the Great Yen commander and looked at him coldly. Why are you here? Why do you want to kill me? Who are you? A Tao Lord warrior can't be this strong. The Great Yen commander said sternly. He had already sent a message to the White Flame General. In his opinion, this was the White Flame Legion's camp. The general would arrive as he pleased. When the White Flame General arrived, he would naturally capture this foreign spy. HM. Jiang Xi frowned and looked in another direction. A door appeared in the distant void. A figure walked out of it. White armor, white skin, and white flames. His invisible aura far surpassed that of an eternal paragon. He was clearly a Chaos Origin Divine General. The Great Yen commander was overjoyed when he saw this figure. General! He hastily called out. White Flame General, Jiang Xi said with a smile. Mountain Sea. White Flame smiled warmly and walked in front of Jiang Xi. When he saw the bound Great Yen's captain on the ground, he growled, Great Yen, why are you here? The Great Yen commander was stunned. He thought that after the White Flame General arrived, he would definitely fight with this foreign spy. However, the two of them were actually chatting and laughing with each other as if they were good friends. General. The great Yen commander was anxious. This mountain sea might be a spy from the outside world. General, you must be careful. Bai Yen glanced at him coldly. The great Yen commander was rendered speechless. Do I need you to teach me what to do? Bai Yen said coldly. You don't have the right to know Lord Mountain Sea's identity. Since you dared to offend Lord Mountain Sea, I hope Lord Mountain Sea won't be enraged and punish you. The great Yen commander was stunned. Lord Mountain Sea. Punish? He immediately realized that the Lord of the Mountains and Seas had a very high status. If he wanted to kill an eternal paragon, he could do so with a single word. However, weren't the four great generals the highest status in the Dream Origin realm? What kind of person could make the four great generals address him as their lord? The great Yen commander was shocked. He must have come into contact with a core secret this time. He was in big trouble. He panicked. Then, he saw the White Flame General and the Mountain Sea Warrior chatting and laughing in the distance. However, he could not hear what they were talking about. For a moment, he was even more terrified. He was afraid Lord Mountain Sea would kill him. Mountain Sea, I didn't expect you to return so soon. I've just received a message from the Godly King Valley. Before I could pay you a visit, I heard that my subordinate had offended you, Bai Yen said with a smile. I think you should announce your identity as an elite. As an elite, nobody would dare to disrespect you. There's no need. Jiang Xi shook his head. He did not want the whole world to know about his identity. With his current strength, he was invincible in the Dream Origin realm and Chaos Sea. However, he had not dealt with the Thousand Transformations Divine General. If his identity was made public, the experts from Chaos Sea would definitely know about his existence. The eternal paragons of the two holy lands in Chaos Sea might have a way to contact the Thousand Transformations Divine General. If the other party was on guard, it might cause unnecessary trouble. How do you plan to deal with him? Bai Yen looked at the great Yen commander on the ground in the distance. To the Dream Origin realm, even if they were a remnant army of the Dream Origin realm's great army, an eternal paragon was nothing. If Jiang Xi wanted to kill, nobody could stop him. Ask him why he wants to kill me first, Jiang Xi said. All right. Bai Yen nodded and immediately sent a voice transmission to the great Yen commander. A moment later, Bai Yen said to Jiang Xi, it's an 8-armed Daolord warrior from the great Yen army. He said you're an outsider and used your death to prove your sincerity. That's why Great Yen is suspicious of you and wants to kill you. The White Flame Guard did not suspect Jiang Xi at all. He knew this warrior, Shanhai, had been identified by the Verdant Cloud Brothel. The Verdant Cloud Brothel was left behind by His Majesty, the Godly King. If Shanhai was a spy, he would not have left the Verdant Cloud Brothel alive. An 8-armed Daolord? A hint of killing intent flashed past Jiang Xi's eyes. The Great Sky Holy Land was dominated by the Great Sky Clan. The Daolords of this clan had 8 arms. Since you want to kill me, I'll kill all your experts in the Dream Origin realm. After that, Jiang Xi did not make things difficult for the Great Yen commander. After a round of punishment, he let Bai Yen lead the Great Yen commander away. Half a day later. When no one was paying attention to him on the island, with just a thought, Jiang Xi arrived at the Great Yen Army's Quartermaster Hall. As soon as he entered the hall, the world around him changed. He had arrived in an extremely realistic world. Whoosh! A golden figure appeared and bowed respectfully at Jiang Xi. Greetings, Lord Shanhai. Jiang Xi nodded. He looked around him. There was not a single warrior around. He must have entered an independent space. I want information on all the Tao Lords and Celestial Venerables who joined the four great armies in the past 350,000 years, he said to the golden figure. Also, can you simulate their auras? Yes. Their life auras are the key to confirming their identities. I have records here, the golden figure said. Instantly. Whoosh. Whoosh. There was a vast number of them. That's a lot. Jiang Xi shook his head. Fortunately, it was only 300,000 years. If it was an epoch, it would be troublesome to find them. Begin the search. With his strength, it only took him a moment to filter out the information. There are 238 Tao Lords and 1 Celestial Venerate from the Great Sky Holy Land who joined the 4 great armies. Killing them is easy. Jiang Xi thought to himself. He controlled the world source of the Dream Origin realm. He could annihilate all the Great Sky Holy Land experts with a single thought. Moreover, he would annihilate both the main body and the avatar. There was no room for resistance. Jiang Xi thought of something. Universe 4, Human Territory. Master. Jiang Xi's avatar entered the ancient Tao origin world and found Heavenly Venerate 9 Firmament. He told him what he wanted to do. What? Heavenly Venerate 9 Firmament was shocked. You said that you have the authority to kill all the Great Sky Holy Land experts in the Dream Origin realm? Yes. Jiang Xi nodded. He did not reveal his experience in the Dream Origin realm, and Heavenly Venerate 9 Firmament did not ask. My plan is not only to kill the powerhouses of the Great Sky Holy Land, but also the powerhouses of the 4th universe who are against our human race. Riverward said again. Hundreds of thousands of years had passed. The human race had occupied more than 90% of the territory in Universe 4. However, many Tao Lords and Heavenly Venerates who were against the human race had fled to Chaos Sea. It was still very difficult to kill them all. Leaving these experts alive was ultimately a hidden danger. I want Master to do something. Jiang Xi told him what he had in mind. You mean? Heavenly Venerate 9 Firmament immediately understood. Ha, great. He laughed. I understand what you mean. You want me to spread the news outside and attract more experts to enter the Dream Origin realm. After they join the army, you can kill them all in one fell swoop. Yes. Jiang Xi nodded. Leave it to me. Heavenly Venerate 9 Firmament laughed. His eyes were filled with madness and anticipation. Annihilating all the enemies of the human race in one fell swoop. Just thinking about it made him excited. Soon, the news spread in Chaos Sea. Some Tao Lords had obtained eternal level inheritances in the Dream Origin Realm's army. Moreover, the Dream Origin Realm's army seemed to be expanding. The selection criteria were much lower than before. When the news spread, the experts of the various factions in Chaos Sea were naturally skeptical. However, when they tried to join the army in the Dream Origin Realm, they realized that it was indeed simple. For example, the Heavenly Feather race of the First Universe had 10 Tao Lords. It was already good enough for 3 or 4 of them to join the army. Now, 8 or even 9 of them could join the army. Therefore, the various factions in Chaos Sea went crazy. With eternal level inheritances in the army, the selection criteria for joining the army were also lowered. What were they waiting for? Under such an atmosphere, more and more experts from Chaos Sea joined the army. Moreover, they did see eternal level inheritances. Some of them exchanged for some information about the inheritances. Under the stimulation of many aspects, more than 5,000 experts from Chaos Sea joined the 4 armies in the Dream Origin realm in just 10,000 years. Jiang Xi was waiting silently. Of course, he was the one who controlled all of this. With his status in the Dream Origin realm, it was easy for him to lower the selection criteria for joining the army. Moreover, it was only for a short period of time. The 4 generals had no reason to reject it. The small amount of eternal level inheritances was also taken out by him. It looked tempting, but it was only tempting. Soon. According to his statistics, there were only about 10,000 Tao Lords in Chaos C's 4 primal universes and 2 Holy Land universes. Most of them had no enmity with the human race and were not within his killing range. His current targets were the Jun Tian Holy Land and the Heavenly Feather race of the first universe, as well as the Demon race and Ghost race of the fourth universe. Jiang Xi had never forgotten about the Heavenly Feather race. This race was an eternal race. Its bloodline was inherited from the Heavenly Feather Divine General of the Primordial Realm. It was this Heavenly Feather Divine General's betrayal that gave the Astral Realm the chance to launch a sneak attack on the Primordial Realm's army. Therefore, this race was also within Jiang Xi's killing range. In the future, if there was a chance, he would completely destroy this eternal race's bloodline. Just like that, another 10,000 years passed. Almost 8,000 experts from various factions in Chaos C had entered the Dream Origin realm. More than 70% of the experts who went against the human race had entered the Dream Origin realm and joined the army. That's enough. Jiang Xi's eyes were cold. It was definitely unrealistic to kill all of them. These factions would not send all of their experts to the Dream Origin realm. If 70% of them were killed, the remaining 30% would be no threat at all. Then die. With a thought, Jiang Xi merged with the world origin of the entire Dream Origin realm. At this moment, several Chaos Origin Divine Generals in the Dream Origin realm sensed something. They looked in the direction of Jiang Xi but did not come over to ask. In their opinion, as long as Lord Mountain Sea did not destroy the entire world with a thought, they did not need to care. Die. Jiang Xi used the world origin to lock onto the life aura that he had selected. He sensed that most of the experts he was about to kill were Tao Lords and a few were celestial venerables. Whoosh! Without a sound, wisps of the world's source energy invaded the bodies and primordial spirits of those experts, killing them all. Moreover, it did not only kill the bodies. That mysterious power also killed all the bodies and clones of these experts through the connection between the main body and the clones. Great Sky Sacred Ground. Who is it? Who is it? Great Sky Supreme was going crazy. Great Sky Sacred Ground had more than 500 Tao Lords. Almost 400 of them had died in an instant. Even if they had many quasi-Tao Lords, they could replenish them. However, to replenish nearly 400 Tao Lords at once and cultivate to an extremely high realm, that kind of consumption, Great Sky Sacred Ground would not be able to recover to its peak state even after 10 Aeon eras. First Universe, Heavenly Feather Race. No. No. Who is it? The only remaining Heavenly Venerables of the Heavenly Feather Race, the Seventh Sacred Lord, was stunned and then despaired. In order to obtain the eternal inheritance in the Dream Origin realm, they had mobilized all their forces. Only he, a Heavenly Venerate, and 10 other Tao Lords were left. The rest had all entered the Dream Origin realm. However, in an instant, all the experts who had entered the Dream Origin realm had died. The Seventh Sacred Lord knew that the Heavenly Feather Race was finished. At the same time, the experts of the Demon Race and Ghost Race in the Fourth Universe who had escaped into the Chaos Sea were also in despair. Especially the Demon Race and Ghost Race. Their Heavenly Venerate Myriad Demon and Heavenly Venerate Yen Du had also entered the Dream Origin realm and died just now. From now on, the Alliance army would no longer be a threat to the human race. Compared to these despairing races, at this moment, the human race in the Fourth Universe was jubilant. Finally, the Fourth Universe ushered in the human race's era. They occupied the entire universe. With such a huge territory, they would give birth to more and more top geniuses, more Tao Lords, and more Heavenly Venerables in the future. At the same time, under the spread of the human race's upper echelons, Jiang Xi's name was once again known by everyone. This was because he was the creator of the human race's peak era. He was the undisputed number one expert of the human race. Chapter 688. Jiang Xi's original body was still cultivating in the dream origin realm. With the eternal fragments given by great dream god king, he no longer had to worry about the lack of experience points. Now, he only needed to use the interface to improve his body, essence spirit, Tao art, and heart essence. Once his heart essence reached the eternal realm, he could deal with illusion immortal General Qian, the only existence that could threaten him in the Chaos Sea. Time passed. 1,000,000 years after Jiang Xi entered the dream origin realm. Jiang Xi's other master, Immortal Liquor Sword, finally became a Tao Lord. For this, Jiang Xi's avatar came out of seclusion to celebrate for his master. Another era passed. Jiang Xi's elder brother, Xian Tian, also became a Tao Lord, becoming the second Tao Lord on earth. After another 10,000,000 years, his second sister, Li Baibai, also became a Tao Lord, becoming the third Tao Lord on earth. Their breakthroughs seemed to have opened the seal of the experts on earth. Perfected lords and Tao Lords appeared one after another. In the next 10 eras, the 4th, 5th, and 6th Tao Lords appeared, until there were more than 10 Tao Lords, and it did not end. As a result, the Earth lineage became the strongest lineage of the human race. During this process, Jiang Xi did not go to Immortal General Qing Shi to release Jiang Dudu's sleeping seal. Because he already knew that illusion Immortal General Qian was coming for the Mountain Sea Star. To be precise, he was coming for the Transcendence Path. According to Great Dream God King, Jiang Dudu was the key to opening the Transcendence Path. Once she woke up, she would attract the attention of Illusion Immortal General Qian. Even if Illusion Immortal General Qian was suppressed by the Dream Origin realm, this expert who was close to the Immortal King level might still have an avatar in the upper realm. If Illusion Immortal General Qian used this opportunity to pass the news to other experts in the astral realm, it would definitely attract more immortal generals or even immortal kings. Even with the Chaos Sea's domineering heaven-earth law restriction, Jiang Xi was not confident that he could deal with an immortal king. Chaos Essence Immortal King was on another level. Even in the larger universe, he was a peak existence. It was not something that could be completely restricted by the laws of heaven and earth. Therefore, Jiang Xi wouldn't open Jiang Dudu's sleeping seal unless he dealt with the illusion divine general. It had been 360,000,000 years since Jiang Xi entered the Dream Origin realm in the 10th epoch. In the Dream Origin realm, on a forbidden island in the Great Yan Army's lake camp. It was indeed a forbidden island, because the island Jiang Xi lived on had already been listed as a forbidden area. In the past 300,000,000 years, not a single warrior had dared to set foot on it. As for Jiang Xi, he had been in closed-door cultivation for 10 eras. On this day, Jiang Xi finally woke up. He opened his eyes, which flashed with an incomparably ancient aura. Phew, I finally succeeded. Cultivation base, me, Eternal Supreme, 1000000/1000000, Doppelganger, Eternal Supreme, 1000000/1000000, Tao Techniques, Eternal Sword Tao, 1000000/1000000, Eternal Saber Tao, 1000000/1000000, Eternal Five Elements, 1000000/1000000, Eternal Life, 1000000/1000000, Eternal Space, 1000000/1000000, Eternal Time, 1000000/1000000, Eternal Destruction, 1000000/1000000, Eternal Reincarnation, 1-000-000/1-000-000. Secret Techniques, Mountain and Sea Scripture, Eternal Scroll. 1-000-000/1-000-000. Heart Origin Scripture, Tier 1, 1-000-000/1-000-000. 8 Lives, Tier 4, 1-000-000/1-000-000. Cloud Annihilation, Tier 4, 1-000-000/1-000-000. Deduction, 1 Eternal Experience Points Conversion, 1 Eternal Shard equals 1 Eternal Experience Points. Eternal Experience Points, 84. 34 million, everything will reach the limits of eternity. Riverward's heart surged with confidence. After 360 million years, he had finally raised his heart origin, Tao techniques, body, and nascent divinity to the perfected eternal realm. His cultivation base had also reached the perfected eternal realm, surpassing the eternal Grand Supreme. With my strength, I'm confident that I can fight the 4 great generals and the other Chaos Origin divine generals in the Dream Origin realm even without using the world's origin. Because he had reached the limit of all 4 paths. The power of Heart Origin was invisible and formless. No supreme treasure could defend against it. Even if the Chaos Origin divine generals could resist it, their strength would be greatly weakened by the power of Heart Origin. Tao Techniques. He had now reached the eternal limit of all 8 Tao techniques. The next step was to create his own Tao technique and step into the Chaos Origin realm. Moreover, he had achieved the fusion of 8 Tao techniques and created the Mountain and Sea Scripture, the advanced version of the Mountain and Sea Sword Scripture. This secret technique could be called a unique skill of the Chaos Origin realm. It was all-encompassing and interpreted all the mysteries of the 8 Tao techniques. In terms of physical strength, he had raised the 8 lives of the 8 Clouds legacy to the perfected 4th level. His physical strength was comparable to an eternal treasure, not to mention his strength. Riverward was confident that he could seriously injure an eternal realm great supremacy with a single punch with just his physical strength. The power of nascent divinity was also the cloud annihilation of the 8 Clouds legacy. After reaching the perfected 4th level, the strength of his nascent divinity had reached the limit of the eternal realm. Once he used his nascent divinity, it would be 1,000 times more powerful. Even a divine general might not be able to compare to the strength of his nascent divinity. Now, the most important thing is the power of heart essence. Jiang Xi's eyes sparkled. The power of heart essence was close to the ultimate transcendent power. The Chaos Sea's heaven-earth laws could not restrict it. With this power, he could unleash the strength of the perfected eternal realm in the Chaos Sea. He could suppress all enemies with a wave of his hand. Even if a godly monarch from the astral realm came, he would not be afraid. This was because godly monarchs were limited by the Chaos Sea's heaven-earth laws to a large extent. They were unable to unleash their true strength. Then we can begin. Jiang Xi looked in the direction of the godly monarch continent. With a thought, he appeared on the 9th floor of the Azure Cloud Brothel in the godly monarch valley. Great Dream godly monarch, who looked like Jiang Daodu, was still sitting in the courtyard space on the 9th floor as though he had never changed. As for Divine General Qing Shi's illusory consciousness, he stood motionless beside him. Are you ready? Great Dream godly monarch asked with a smile. I can take action at any time, said Jiang Xi confidently. Beside him, Divine General Qing Shi laughed. It seems like there's no need for me to take action. Senior Qing Shi, just help me protect Daodu, said Jiang Xi. Don't worry. In the independent space of my main body, even if 1,000 illusion godly general's strength is close to that of a godly monarch, he won't be able to discover Daodu, said Divine General Qing Shi. Then let's begin. Jiang Xi nodded. The 3 of them were not the type to procrastinate. Great Dream godly monarch waved his hand. Who? Jiang Xi disappeared from Dream Origin Sector. The next moment, he appeared in the endless gray fog in the primordial realm's Chaos Sea. At the same time, Thousand Illusion Godly General, who was suppressed in the origin space of Dream Origin Sector, was expelled. In the endless Chaos Sea, the 4 original universes were like 4 continents floating in the endless gray fog. There were specks of celestial venerate miniature universes all around. Among them, there were 2 Holy Land universes that were much larger in size. They were like islands and similarly emitted powerful auras. In this huge world, there were 3 places that were obviously larger. They were the 3 lands of Extremis, Gold Flow River, Abyss of Pitting Space, and Myriad Worlds Ruins. At this moment, at the edge of Myriad Worlds Ruins, which was covered by wind and fire energy, many flying true treasures could be seen scattered everywhere. Although a large number of great beings had died in Dream Origin Sector 10 eras ago, those who survived had obtained great fortune. However, those who had survived had indeed obtained many fortuitous encounters. Many Tao Lords had even become Empyrean experts because of this. Therefore, there were still many forces that sent experts to guard this place. Suddenly, a figure appeared at the periphery of Myriad Worlds Ruins. Huh! That is Mountain Sea Tao Lord. He disappeared for hundreds of millions of years. Why did he suddenly appear? Hurry up and stay away. He is now the top master in Chaos Sea. Nobody can do anything to him. Those great beings quickly retreated and passed the message to their races, telling them not to get close to Myriad Worlds Ruins for the time being. On the other hand, Riverward waited quietly outside the Wanjie ruins and did not go anywhere. In the next moment, another figure appeared. It was a handsome young man in silver armor with a long spear in his hand. It was Illusion Immortal General Qian. Ha! A bunch of dead remnant spirits want to suppress me? Illusion Immortal General Qian laughed as if there was no one around. I have escaped. From now on, no great being in this ruined primordial realm Chaos Sea can stop me. The many opportunities buried here will eventually belong to me, Illusion Immortal General Qian. Perhaps in the future, I can use this to enter the Divine King realm and become Illusion Immortal King. He looked around and finally fixed his eyes on Jiang Xi. That was because Jiang Xi was the only one left in the vicinity. Why aren't you afraid of me? Illusion Immortal General Qian said proudly. Why should I be afraid of you? Jiang Xi smiled. Oh. Seems like you are quite capable. Illusion Immortal General Qian stared at Jiang Xi. Soon, he frowned as he realized that Jiang Xi's cultivation was a little strange. He was a celestial venerate, but he looked like an eternal supreme. On second look, he looked like a Chaos Origin Immortal General. It was really strange. Let me ask you, do you know of the Mountain Sea Star? Illusion Immortal General Qian suddenly asked. He still did not take Jiang Xi seriously. He asked this because he felt that Jiang Xi should have some background and might know some secrets. Mountain Sea Star. Jiang Xi laughed. My name is Jiang Xi, also known as Mountain Sea. Do you think I don't know? You. Illusion Immortal General Qian was stunned and could no longer remain calm. Then, his eyes released a fierce glint as he said coldly, a weak creature from the lower realm dares to toy with me? I'll capture you first. Whoosh. He directly raised his hand, and the endless chaotic gray fog in the surroundings seemed to listen to his command, condensing into an incomparably huge palm print, pressing down on Jiang Xi. The chaos fog, also known as chaos energy, could only be controlled by Chaos Origin experts. Although Illusion Immortal General Qian was limited by the Chaos Sea's Heaven-Earth law and could only exert the strength of a heavenly venerate, he could still control chaos energy, but the next moment, he was shocked. Jiang Xi did not move at all. He only said softly, disperse. It was unknown what kind of power spread out and directly defeated the chaos palm that seemed to be able to annihilate everything. Impossible. Illusion Immortal General Qian was shocked. In the Chaos Sea, to be able to display such strength, it could only be a Chaos Essence Divine King level powerhouse. Nothing is impossible. Riverward said with a smile. Seal. He said softly again. Heart Origin Force spread out again. The invisible force was like a huge net that enveloped Illusion Immortal General Qian. Not good. Illusion Immortal General Qian could not sense the Heart Origin Force, but he could feel an invisible danger rapidly approaching. Retreat, retreat, retreat. He hurriedly retreated. What kind of power is this? It's not a Tao technique, not a body, not a primordial spirit. What is it? Illusion Immortal General Qian thought as he retreated. However, he had never seen this power before and could not think of an answer for a while. Can you escape? Jiang Xi did not move. Wherever his heart was, it was within his attack range. Seal. He spoke again. The invisible Heart Origin Force immediately increased explosively, reaching the eternal perfection level. Whoosh! In an instant, an invisible net directly bound Illusion Immortal General Qian, firmly imprisoning him. His body and primordial spirit were all imprisoned, unable to move. This is impossible. Illusion Immortal General Qian's face was filled with disbelief and fear. Who are you? Are you a remnant of the primordial realm? Impossible, the primordial realm army has already turned into remnant spirits. It's impossible for there to be any alive. Jiang Xi took a light step forward and walked in front of him. He smiled and said, "You'll know in a while." Heart Slave Technique. As he spoke, he used the enslavement technique in the Heart Origin Sutra. Immediately, the invisible net formed by the Heart Origin Force began to penetrate deep into Illusion Immortal General Qian's body and primordial spirit. It was like a brand that completely controlled Illusion Immortal General Qian's body, primordial spirit, and mind. No. No. Illusion Immortal General Qian wanted to self-destruct and abandon this body, but under the control of the Heart Origin Force, he could not do so at all. He struggled frantically, trying to resist this invisible force with his Chaos Origin Divine General level mental state cultivation. This is... He suddenly realized something. This is that person's power, Heart Origin Force. It's Heart Origin Force. Illusion Immortal General Qian finally remembered an extremely ancient legend. It was a power unique to the super-existence called Yuan during the primordial realm's heyday. Yuan had used this to sweep through almost all the super powerhouses in the myriad worlds. But at this time, it was useless for Illusion Immortal General Qian to remember because he had no means of resisting. At most, he could unleash the strength of a peak heavenly venerable. The invisible brand finally penetrated deep into Illusion Immortal General Qian's mental state world, eroding his mind. He closed his eyes, and the last trace of despair and struggle in his eyes finally disappeared. When Illusion Immortal General Qian opened his eyes again and looked at Jiang Xi, only fanaticism and respect were left in his eyes. Thousand Illusion greets Master. Heart Slave Technique. From now on, Illusion Immortal General Qian was Jiang Xi's heart slave. Before cultivating the Heart Origin Sutra, Jiang Xi had indeed planned to directly kill Illusion Immortal General Qian. But when he learned that there was such a heart slave technique in the Heart Origin Sutra, he changed his mind and tried to control Illusion Immortal General Qian. Because he would definitely go to the upper realm in the future. If Illusion Immortal General Qian was there, it would naturally be much more convenient. Now that he controlled Illusion Immortal General Qian, Jiang Xi also knew that this existence close to the godly monarch level had indeed left an avatar in the astral realm. This way, it was equivalent to him burying a nail in the astral realm that would definitely be of great use in the future. After all, there were not many powerhouses like Illusion Immortal General Qian even in the upper realm. From now on, Jiang Xi was invincible in the primordial realm's chaos sea. And he did not stop. He directly took a step forward, crossing countless light years and arriving outside the Juntian sacred ground. A new sacred ground universe will be established in the Chaos Sea. There's no need for the Juntian sacred ground to exist. Whoosh! The invisible heart origin force attached to his fist, coupled with the physical strength of an eternal cardinal treasure, this punch immediately exceeded the limits of the Chaos Sea. Endless chaotic energy crazily surged towards Jiang Xiai and condensed on his fist. Finally, when this punch was completely condensed, it seemed to be able to destroy everything. Then, the punch smashed towards the huge Juntian sacred ground universe. Juntian sacred ground, inside a shrine in the giant hammer divine world. Ever since the dream origin realm appeared, Juntian Supreme's blurry figure had never disappeared. At this moment, he suddenly felt his heart palpitate. What happened? The next moment, Juntian Supreme opened his eyes in shock. The fog that covered his figure also disappeared, revealing a figure similar to a human. Boom! Crash! Rumble! All kinds of loud noises reverberated throughout the entire Juntian sacred ground universe. The sky collapsed, and the ground caved in. Terrifying cracks appeared in the void. Lightning, thunder, gray fog, flames, and all kinds of energy spiraled between heaven and earth. Juntian sacred ground universe was collapsing. Those pieces of space fragments formed turbulence and began to impact the entire universe. Hoo, those living beings that relied on the Juntian sacred ground, no matter where they were, died silently along with the destruction of the universe. Who is it? Who is it? Juntian Supreme roared angrily, his anger reaching the extreme. His main body had already gone to the upper realm. This was only an illusory consciousness that he had left behind. He didn't have any strength. At most, he could control the origin of the eternal universe and intimidate the experts of the sacred ground. Therefore, right now, he could only watch helplessly as his universe collapsed. He was powerless to do anything. What made Juntian Supreme feel the most despair was that now that his eternal universe was destroyed, his strength in the upper realm would plummet. Strength represented status. His status in the star origin realm would also be greatly reduced. Those enemies that he had made over the years would definitely come to kill him. In other words, he was finished. Who is it that cut off my Juntian's retreat? Juntian Supreme stood in the sacred ground universe that was gradually turning into ruins and roared he didn't even see the enemy's figure. Finally, when the origin of the universe was about to collapse, Juntian Supreme saw the figure standing outside the Juntian sacred ground. Jiang Xiai. Mountain Sea Dao Lord. You deserve to die. Juntian Supreme was unable to restrain his anger. Goodbye. Jiang Xiai punched out again. The Juntian sacred ground that was about to turn into ruins completely turned into fragments of various sizes and scattered in the endless chaotic gray fog. Juntian sacred ground, destroyed. Soon, the entire Chaos Sea was shocked. The Juntian sacred ground that had stood in the Chaos Sea for countless years, the number one force in the Chaos Sea, was suddenly destroyed. No one knew that someone had smashed the Juntian sacred ground with a punch. But then, another thing that shocked the major forces in the Chaos Sea happened. At the edge of the fourth universe, a miniature universe was rapidly expanding. 1 trillion light years, 2 trillion light years, 3 trillion light years, 10 trillion light years, 20 trillion light years, 30 trillion light years, 30 trillion had already surpassed the Red Lotus sacred ground universe. However, the expansion process of this sacred ground universe wasn't over yet. 40 trillion, 50 trillion, it had surpassed the original Juntian sacred ground. 60 trillion, 70 trillion, until 1 trillion light years. This was the limit that the eternal sacred ground universe could reach. A new sacred ground universe appeared in the Chaos Sea. Since it appeared at the edge of the fourth universe, it was obvious that this was a sacred ground universe belonging to the human race. It was called the Mountain Sea Sacred Ground. However, it wasn't over yet. At the edge of the fourth universe, another miniature universe began to expand. It was expanding as quickly as the mountain ocean's sacred ground. Soon, it reached 40 trillion light-years, surpassing the Red Lotus sacred ground. And the name of this sacred ground universe was Purple Firmament Sacred Ground. It was Heavenly Venerable Purple Firmament, or rather, Supreme Purple Firmament's sacred ground universe. Fourth universe, Human Territory, Tao Alliance Heavenly Court. The upper echelons of the human race were gathered. Jiang Xi sat at the top, and beside him was a white-robed figure. During this period of time, the human race has been experiencing one joyous event after another. Heavenly Venerable Purple Firmament, no. Supreme Purple Firmament has escaped, and two sacred ground universes have been opened at the same time. Congratulations! Heavenly Venerable Nine Firmament presided over this banquet. He stood there and spoke loudly. The other upper echelons of the human race, be it Tao Lords or Heavenly Venerables, were all smiling. What a joyous event! From now on, the human race in the fourth universe would be the number one force in the Chaos Sea. They would have two sacred ground universes. There were also nearly 1,000 Tao Lords, 7 Heavenly Venerables, and 2 Supremes. With such a foundation, they would no longer have to fear the calamity and could enjoy eternity. Jiang Xi, thank you. Supreme Purple Firmament raised his cup and thanked him. Grandmaster, you have contributed greatly to the human race. The Purple Firmament Sword Sutra that you left behind once guided my sword Tao cultivation. Now that I have the strength to help you escape, I naturally won't sit back and do nothing, Jiang Xi said with a smile. With his current strength, he naturally couldn't compete with the origin of the fourth universe. However, the fourth universe was created by Great Dream God King. Wasn't it up to Great Dream God King to release him? After the banquet, Jiang Xi returned to Earth. He stopped on the moon and looked at the blue planet. Earth, Mountain Sea Star, Transcendence Road. He knew that one day in the future, he would definitely open that road and transcend. He would do what no one before him had done. To Jiang Xi, with the experience panel, it was only a matter of time before he became a primordial chaos ruler. This was because the experience panel was brought down from the Transcendence Road by Emperor Junyuan. It contained ultimate power. Then, Jiang Xi cut open the void with one hand and arrived in an independent space. It was the independent space that Divine General Qing Shi had opened, a world with birds and flowers. You're here. Divine General Qing Shi smiled. Senior Qing Shi. Jiang Xi bowed respectfully. Divine General Qing Shi had protected Jiang Dudu for countless years, which was enough for him to be so respectful. Jiang Dudu was the key to opening the Transcendence Road. Her aura was different from other experts. If Divine General Qing Shi hadn't made Jiang Dudu fall into a deep sleep, Divine General Thousand Transformations would have sensed her aura the moment he descended into the primordial realm's chaos sea. Go on. Divine General Qing Shi smiled before disappearing. Jiang Xi sighed. He now knew that Divine General Qing Shi was actually the ancestor of the Qingyuan race. Back then, when the Primordial Realm's army embarked on the final road, they left behind the Qingyuan race and the Heavenly Feather race to guard the rear. The Heavenly Feather race rebelled, and the Qingyuan race resisted with all their might. In the end, they were killed by the ruler of the Astral Realm, and Divine General Qing Shi escaped with serious injuries. The special space that could monitor the entire Chaos Sea was left behind by the Qingyuan race. It was also the key to Divine General Qing Shi's escape from the ruler of the Astral Realm. Jiang Xi shook his head and walked to the flower bed. He saw the sleeping Jiang Dudu. In terms of appearance, Jiang Dudu was identical to Great Dream God King. However, it was obvious that Jiang Dudu's liveliness was different from Great Dream God King's dignified aura. Jiang Xi waved his hand gently, and the sleeping seal disappeared. The sleeping beauty Jiangdudu's eyelashes trembled. Then, she opened her eyes and saw a familiar figure. Brother. End of book. P.S. I wanted to write more, but the moment Jiangdudu opened her eyes, I felt that it was too late. I suddenly felt that this was the best time to end it, so I just finished the book. Calculating the time, it's 3 days, exactly 1 year. Writing a book for a year is something I never thought of before. Although the ending is a little rushed, I've already explained everything. There are some small holes that haven't been filled, such as the battle pattern continent, the extraterritorial battlefield, and the existence under the ancient god abyss. Please ignore it automatically. Also, Jiang Ci has comprehended the eternal time Dao. He can reverse time and revive experts below the Dao Lord level. I originally wanted to write some plot about reviving the first master, Daoist Gu, and the Wine Sword Immortal's Dao companion, Hibiscus Sword Immortal. After thinking about it, I'll leave some memories for everyone. After all, incomplete is the most perfect. Finally, thank you for your company and support this year. Thank you very much. Bow. The mountain is high and the road is long. We'll meet again if fate wills it. You're tuning in to the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.